Are you from here?
Just visiting.
It's my last night actually.
That's so many moments.
एक रात में पूरी जिंदगी जी सकते हैं.
Try करते हैं.
हर पल जी ले तू अभी, हर लम्हा है जिंदगी.
Magic in your eyes, there's magic in the air.
तो कैसी रही जिंदगी?
Every moment was magic. There's magic.
Make every moment a magic moment.
My journey of insurance and investments began at the same time when I invested in LIC SEEP. In this fast-moving world, SEEP can balance your funds with security and growth. SEEP will take care of the ups and downs of the market and will give you fruitful results so that you enjoy the ride. And when SEEP is with you, you can soar high.
LIC's unit-linked insurance plan SEEP offers savings and protection so that you can soar high in your life. LIC, हर पल आपके साथ.
Hello and welcome. I'm Chaiti Narula. India's biggest youth summit, India Today E-mindrocks, goes virtual after being a crowned event for 11 whole years. With 18 editions traveling across 9 cities, it has now reinvented itself in keeping up with the current times. India Today E-mindrocks 2021 will bring all the amazing mindrockers together in one mega pan-India virtual event through candid conversations about their journeys, their aspirations, their inspirations, and what have you. This is aimed at helping the confined youth of the country beat the lockdown blues. So a big welcome to all you mindrockers out there who have tuned in today. Today we're going to be bringing you some of the biggest youth icons on our virtual stage. The message is clear and simple. You are not alone. Today, from netas to superstars, YouTubers, from singers to mental health gurus and representatives from Bollywood, all are reaching out to connect with you. We here at India Today are giving you a chance to connect as well. Use the hashtag #mindrocks21 while you watch the event on the India Today website, our Facebook page, YouTube and Twitter. We'd like to thank our presenting sponsor, Jain University, associate sponsor, Magic Moments Music Studio, make every moment a magic moment, and insurance partner, LIC of India. Coming up is our first session where actor Kriti Sanon talks about her journey and how she made it so big in Bollywood. Take a look.
Hello and welcome to Mindrocks 2021, the India Today Youth Summit. I'm Akshita Nandagopal and I'm joined by a very special guest. Actor Kriti Sanon is joining me on this broadcast. Kriti, thank you so much for joining us. I wish we could have met personally, but you know, in these times, this is the best we can do.
I know this is my first Mindrocks that's happening like this. I'm missing the whole fun and the craze of the audience and the energy that it always has.
Yeah.
But where in these times we can't help it, and adapt is probably the new word. I think we just need to adapt to everything that's happening around.
Kriti, you've been supremely busy. 5 films in the pipeline that you've got coming up. One recent was Mimi. And I think the question everyone asks is, do you get any sleep these days? You know, do you have more than 24 hours in a day?
No, I wish I did, honestly, because I'm getting lesser hours to sleep and I love sleeping. Like, I can't function if I'm not getting like an 8-hour sleep, and I'm not getting that, honestly. But I think after the whole pandemic and everyone being home and, you know, for so long and craving to work, craving to get back to normal life, to be on the set, to do what you love doing, I can't complain. I think busy is probably the new happy, I would say. And I'm just so glad and fortunate that I'm able to do everything that I want to do. Yes, it sometimes kind of comes all together,
yeah.
But it's okay. Without any pain, there's no gain, so it's fine.
I think, you know, as much as we all like to complain, none of us are going to complain for work coming our way, right? It's opportunities at the end of the day. Congratulations also, Kriti, on the great response that Mimi's received. I'm sure you've been getting a lot of love also for the film. It's been amazing. I just saw it last night as well. But it had a release on a streaming platform. You know, that's considered to be the new normal right now. Were you happy with the reception, with the kind of response that you got?
Yeah, absolutely. I was really overwhelmed with the kind of love that the film has gotten, and Of course, like you said, for me also it was, I've always had my films coming in the theaters, and it's kind of weird to have an OTT release, especially for a film that was meant for theaters.
Yeah.
So there was this little bittersweet feeling in the beginning, but then, when the film released and the kind of love that's poured in, I also feel that we're in these really stressful times where everything is a bit gloomy, and, everyone's just been home, not been able to go out, and, kind of everyone's going through something or the other. And when a film like this comes and brings a smile to people's faces, gives them hope, gives them, something to enjoy with their entire family, I think that has been a unanimous response that I've gotten. People have watched it with their families, with their parents, with their children. Someone, can I watch this film with my kids? And I'm like, please do, because most of the OTT content that has been around, I think, is more edgy, intense crime thriller zone, and there are times when you have to fast forward things, when you're watching with your kids or your parents. People end up watching it in separate rooms, and I think films for me, I think as a kid, was always like it was a family event, that we kind of go to theaters with the whole family. We make this whole program, and and I think with this film, people are feeling that after a very long time.
Did you choose it because of that? Because, a story like Mimi, it must have been hard for you to relate to also to some extent.
No, I mean, I think every character is different, and when the character is away from you is what makes it exciting. So for me, the story was very heart-touching, and it was entertaining, but at the same time, its core was very strong. It had heart, soul to it. It made me cry. It made me laugh. It made me feel like a roller coaster of emotions, which is what I felt, I want to do as an audience. When I'm watching a film, I want to go through like many emotions in one film, and at the end of it, I want to have like wet eyes but a smile on my face. I think that's what we all kind of, that feeling of, wow, I watched something good and I felt good about it. The character is very away from me. She's from Mandava. She's this girl who's feisty, who's like, she's talking to Ranveer Singh's posters. She's got big dreams. She's very, she has these, she doesn't take shit. And I feel like a lot of shades of her were very away from me. The dialect, the place where she comes from, I related to her dreams because I have, I saw those dreams of wanting to become an actor, believing in yourself, wanting to take, willing to take risks, But at the end of it, when what changes her, the surrogacy, and when they run away and that flips her life, and the whole transition to this, from a girl to a woman, and to a mother, and not being prepared to be a mother, but still being in that situation, and then turning into a mother with just holding that.
Yes, that's why I asked, how do you relate to those kind of stories?
I think with me, the process has been like, obviously I talk a lot with my director to understand the subtext and what the character is going through. But it is the journey of the character, to understand what she's going through at that point. What could be her feeling, what could be what is exterior and what could be more internal. So I think that's been my process. And I think every woman kind of has that little motherly instinct in general, which is there. I love kids, so I'm just glad that I do, because if I was like Minnie in the first half, who's shouting at a kid for crying, I probably would have not been able to relate to the second half of it. But I love kids, and I think I have that slightly wanting to take care kind of a feeling inside
that
me.
Instinct, that motherly instinct.
Yeah, I feel like as a person also, with me, with my friends, with my sister, sometimes I can become a little bit of a mummy at times. Yes, I am a very logical person. I'm an engineer. For me, everything is about logic. So there were times when I asked, like, in the beginning, I asked Lakshman sir that, she has so many dreams. She doesn't want to become a mother. She hates kids. She gets this child and she forgets her dreams, and she doesn't want to do anything else. And she wants to, like, protect this child and be with this child. How? And he's like, because she became a mother. This is a feeling that you can't, there is the most selfless and unconditional love in this world is a mother's love.
Are you from here?
Just visiting. It's my last night actually.
That's so many moments.
एक रात में पूरी जिंदगी जी सकते हैं.
Try करते हैं.
हर पल जी ले तू अभी, हर लम्हा है जिंदगी.
Magic in your eyes, there's magic in the air.
तो कैसी रही जिंदगी?
Every moment was magic.
There's magic
Make
in
every moment a magic moment.
पूजा जॉब छोड़ा फिर भी सो कूल.
ब्रो, नए चैलेंजेस नए मौके लाते हैं.
अच्छा.
सीरियसली राहुल, मेरा पूरा घर नाउ इट्स एन ऑनलाइन रिटेल स्टोर. देख.
वाओ. लेकिन पैसे?
कुछ साल पहले दिवाली बोनस को इन्वेस्ट किया था.
और अब तो है LIC का यूलिप प्लान निवेश प्लस. एक बार इन्वेस्ट करो, इंश्योरेंस से सुरक्षा का लाभ और मार्केट की बढ़त का फायदा दोनों पाओ.
वन सेक राहुल.
मैडम, यू आर डबल कूल.
You've given us such, interesting roles. I think of Bareli Ki Barfi, I think of Mimi, and then now, in your Kitty, in your upcoming films, you've got an action flick also. You've got a myriad, sort of very different films that you've done, very different roles. How do you really cherry pick these? Do you think that, my next film should be something I've never done before, something that's completely out of the box?
No, I don't think like that. Though I feel, yes, I think subconsciously I do get attracted to things that are new for me. That I haven't done, I haven't explored. If I come across a character that, I've done something like this before, it might not excite me as much unless and until the story is stronger than the character at that point, and I feel like I want to be a part of this. Then it's a different thing. But otherwise, sometimes I think what excites you, what scares you is what excites you, at least in my case. So, sometimes when I hear something and I'm like, okay, I don't know how I'm going to do this. Like that happened in case of Mimi as well, where I was like, okay, the second half of it is so away from me. I don't know how I'm going to pull this off. And there's a huge transition. But that is what excited me. So I think I get drawn to things that slightly scare me a little bit, challenge me to some extent, and are different from what I've done. Actually, I was thinking the other day that all my next films that are coming, whether it is Hum Do Hamare Do, which is like a warm family film, there is Bachchan Pandey, which is a complete entertainer. I play a director in that, something I haven't done before. The dynamics that are there between my character and Akshay Sir's character is very, very unique and very different and very exciting. There is Bhediya, which is like my first horror comedy, and I love my look in the film especially, and it's going to be surprising for people to watch me like that. There is Adi Purush, which is a complete history, mythology zone, a character which is, it has so much weight to it. And Ganpat, where I get to do action and, I have this dirt bike and there is like a completely different fictional zone happening. And I just feel like all these none of them overlap each other in terms of the genre and the content and the kind of film it is. And that can be probably the most exciting phase an actor can be in, where you're doing so many things which are away from each other in terms of, the character, the zone, the genre of the film.
Yeah.
So I'm actually thrilled.
You've been in the industry for 7 years now. Does it make it easier? Or do you think, the same pressure that was on you the first year, the first film that you made your debut with is still there because there's a certain expectation now from fans?
It kind of I mean, you get more confident with time, with experience. I feel I have also, over the years, evolved and constantly grown, and that's been like intentional. Like I want to constantly grow and learn from every film, and you know, sort of become a better version of myself. So that way, yes, you understand the craft a lot more. Things are easier in terms of your approach. But at the same time, you have to reinvent yourself. You have to do something that you've not done. So it gets tricky as well. And pressure or the nervousness, I think, is the same. I think I get the same butterflies when my film is releasing. I get the same butterflies when I'm starting a new film. There'll be like 4 days, 5 days before the film. I would be like a little anxious, and I would kind of lose my appetite and things that happen to me when I'm stressed. Until I give that first shot of the character, I would be like, I don't know how to do this. So that happens, but that is great because I think, I like feeling like a bit of a beginner who doesn't know it all and is wanting to explore, is wanting to find her way.
Kriti, you're one of those few actors who's somehow, and I'd say miraculously, managed to stay away from too much controversy, needless issues, all of that. And besides that, also, you're one of those actors who doesn't belong to those big families, those big B-town families or any of that. So, was it hard to really break into Bollywood as an outsider? Do you still see that as some sort of a challenge even now?
I don't call myself an outsider anymore. I think I'm very much a part of this industry. I've created a place of my own, a space of my own. I feel at home. And I am doing the work that I've always wanted to. I have people who have believed in me, given me the opportunity. And I call it my own home and my own place. And I don't want to feel like an outsider because I belong here. But yes, it's taken a while because I don't come from a film background. I think, it's like you come into a new world and you're lost and you don't know anyone and no one knows you. So I think you take that time to kind of get people to know your name, to kind of match your face and name to each other, to see your talent film by film, to start believing in you and to be willing to give you opportunities outside your comfort zone, to believe in your talent more than what they see outside, of your personality. So I feel all those things take a little while. You have to take baby steps and grow, and that's what I have done at least. But once you get to know people, you've worked enough here, you find your own people who are at the same frequency, who have the same beliefs, who are equally passionate. And I think there are all kinds of people everywhere. So there will be someone who will not believe in you, but there will be someone who will. So, I think that's there in every profession. It's, the awkwardness at filmy parties has reduced a little, but I still don't love going to fully filmy parties. I prefer partying with my own set of people a lot more. But that's me as a person, that's my personality. And controversies, I don't know. I mean, they could happen, never say never. It's not like
you don't want to jinx it.
Yeah, it's not like I'm trying to get into one. It's not like I'm trying to willingly stay away. I think it's just my personality. I think I am a bit of an easy person who people will not really have an issue with. And that's how I've been. So I think that's probably the reason I don't like controversy, so I'm not around them anymore.
The reason I asked you that question, Kriti, also about, how you made it big in Bollywood really is because very often there's a certain narrative about Bollywood and the film industry here in India that it's not always about talent, that you have to have the right contacts and that's when it takes you a certain place. Would you agree with that? That, it takes a certain amount of influence, certain amount of contacts. It's not always that actors like you can make it big with just talent.
See, I don't completely believe in that. Yes, of course, if you have influence, you have friends, you know someone, it's going to get easier for you. But eventually, I feel like talent is what shines at the end of it. You need to be aggressive and you need to be a go-getter and you need to be driven and ambitious. And I think when you are all of that, you end up I don't care if I don't see it as a problem if I have to reach out to someone and say, I want to work with you. And that's okay. And, I think eventually if you're doing good work, you're driven, you're ambitious, you are a go-getter, I think eventually people see that. And it's, at the end of it, everything is a business, If you're bringing something different to the table, if you're adding value to what you're doing, then you will get work.
Yeah.
So I don't think that I didn't have any contacts. I didn't have any influence. So there are so many people who didn't. I mean, when you talk about Rajkumar Rao, you talk about Ayushman, you talk about Taapsee, you talk about so many people who've not come from a film background. They've not had contacts and influence. I mean, Anushka Sharma also, when she came, or Priyanka when she came, it's not like they came with contacts.
Yeah.
Eventually, yes, you build relationships. I think I do believe in that. I do believe in like building my own equations and relationships with people who I feel have, similar beliefs, thinkings, who I kind of connect with. And that sometimes I think you need to take your relationships forward, you need to sort of, that is something that stays, when things are going wrong, when your films are not working, those relationships are going to still be like, there around you. And I think that somewhere helps, yes.
Kriti, my producers have put together quickly a rapid fire round that they want me to do with you. So I'm going to start off quickly. You're ready, right? It's just going to be very, very quick. 5-10 questions.
I'm pathetic at rapid.
Nothing controversial, I promise you.
Sure.
I'm not a Karan Johar, so I can't pull off anything controversial. We keep it very, very simple.
Sure.
Okay, so let's begin with the question that they put out, which is, would you choose a 100 crore film or a Best Actress award?
Best Actress award.
Okay, comedy or action, and why?
Comedy or action? Comedy. I because I just feel like comedy is probably the most difficult genre. It's very difficult to make people laugh. And also when you're spreading so much happiness, then comedy. I like lighthearted.
Okay, difficult one coming up. Who would you rather flirt, date and marry? So there are 3 names: Prabhas, Tiger Shroff, Kartik Aaryan.
Oh God. Flirt, date,
and
marry.
So you got Prabhas, Tiger Shroff, Kartik Aaryan.
I think I shouldn't say. I hate these questions. Yeah. Why?
I told you this is a difficult one.
Why are you making this coffee with Karan? I would probably flirt with Kartik, date Tiger, and marry Prabhas.
Okay, marry Prabhas. I'd agree with you there. Kriti, one thing that you cannot do without on set. One thing that you need with you always.
That I need with me always on my set. I think my team. I think I'm just so comfortable with them, and we don't realize the fact that we end up spending more time with our team, like our hair, makeup, our people around.
Yeah.
Than I sometimes do with my family. So they become like your family on set, and they're constantly with me. So I think it's nice to feel somewhat at home at every set. When you have your people around.
Okay. Which real life character would you like to play?
Would you like to?
Play. Who would you like to enact next? A real life character you find inspiring or, great story?
There are so many. I don't know.
You can pick 3 even. We have no problem.
Pick 3 in the sense, मुझे कोई आ नहीं रहे दिमाग में. But I feel like Madhubala's story, Madhubala ji's story is something which is very, very different.
That'll be amazing to watch. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would love to, as a person, I would love to know more about her story. So to play her would be really amazing.
Okay. Who's your biggest critic?
My biggest critic? There are many around me. I think all my people, all my honest people, I would say. I mean, my family for sure. So after watching every film, we have like a chai discussion, about the film, where they are absolutely brutally honest about what they felt, what scene they liked, what scene they didn't like, everything. So my family is definitely my biggest critic. I think because they get to know where I'm faking it. Like they know me so well that they know that this is not, you're not completely there in this particular moment. So yeah, I think I would call them probably my biggest critic.
So you've completed 7 years in the industry, but 10 years from now, and complete this line for me, Kriti Sanon would be
still discovering herself.
Okay, that's a great line. I'm going to give you one word, and the first thing that comes to your mind, when I use these words. First, COVID-19.
Must go.
Lockdown.
Lockdown. I think a pause button, I would say.
Maldives.
Dream.
Trolls.
Indifferent.
Okay, and finally OTT platforms.
OTT platforms, I think the next big thing.
Okay, one difficult question also coming up, Kriti. Who's dearer to you, Bitti from Bareilly Ki Barfi or Mimi?
Yeah. Why do you want me choose?
I had to do it.
Between my babies. I think both have a very special place in my heart, honestly speaking. And I'm not saying it like diplomatically. They do, because I feel like Bitti helped me broke a few barriers, and I think Mimi kind of shattered many. But I would say I have lived Mimi longer and deeper, and because also it was my first film that I kind of led and I had on my shoulders, and so Mimi probably is a little more special because I think I've lived, I know her better, I know her deeper.
Okay, a filmmaker you'd like to work with next, Rajkumar Hirani or Rajamouli?
I'm not. There is no choice. They are both like magicians and amazing people and amazing directors, and I can't choose this. Sorry.
Okay, then the next one. Now you have to choose an actor you'd like to work with next, Ranbir or Ranveer. Now you have to choose.
It's always taken in one breath. I don't know. It is like both. I've not worked with both, and both are amazing actors, and they're so different in their own space. Like, they have a different way of acting and method. I love both, yeah, guys. I mean, Mimi is.
Who do you think you'd have better chemistry with on screen?
Both. I genuinely mean it.
Okay, all right. We'll leave it there. I mean, you didn't give us an answer, but it's okay because I get it's a very, very difficult choice between the two.
It's a tough choice. Like, I'll ask you who's a better actor. Can you say?
Yeah, no, I like both their films, so it'll be difficult. But I will choose Ranveer. Kriti, it's been an absolute pleasure having you with us here on India Today. Thank you very much for joining us. I hope that next year around we'll be able to meet you. Have all of that energy, that buzz that E-mindrocks is known for.
Yeah, I mean, I'm used to dancing on E-mindrocks also, and hearing
you can still do it for us. No one's going to complain.
I here sitting like that, but I don't think that's enough. But it's been great having this chat, and I'm so glad that we could do this, and I really hope the next year we'll actually meet in person.
Yes, so I'm keeping your word on that. We'll have you next year on our E-mindrocks stage. Hopefully, by then everything will be taken care of and we'll be, done talking about a pandemic. But thank you so much, Kriti, for joining us here on India Today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Are you from here?
Just visiting. It's my last night actually.
That's so many moments.
एक रात में पूरी जिंदगी जी सकते हैं.
Try करते हैं.
हर पल जी ले तू अभी, हर लम्हा है जिंदगी.
Magic in your eyes, there's magic in the air.
तो कैसी रही जिंदगी?
Every moment was magic.
There's magic
Make every moment a magic moment.
My journey of insurance and investments began at the same time when I invested in LIC SEEP. In this fast-moving world, SEEP can balance your funds with security and growth. SEEP will take care of the ups and downs of the market and will give you fruitful results so that you enjoy the ride. And when SEEP is with you, you can soar high.
LIC's unit-linked insurance plan SEEP offers savings and protection so that you can soar high in your life. LIC, हर पल आपके साथ.
Now let's focus a little bit about education. Next up, we've got Union Minister for Human Resources and Development, Dharmendra Pradhan, talking about the new normal for education.
Namaskar, distinguished speakers and my dear students. It is my pleasure to be part of India Today's E-mindrocks. I am delighted to share my thoughts on the new normal for education with India's energetic and aspiring youth. Before discussing this new normal for education, we must understand the dynamics that have led to this new normal. As you all know, the advent of COVID-19 pandemic and its ensuing repercussions have been unprecedented not only for India but for the world at large. However, I am proud that our students, our teachers and the gamut of educational ecosystem demonstrated remarkable resilience in the face of the pandemic. We are successful in transitioning one of the world's largest education system from a traditional mode of pedagogy to a digital medium, given all the complexity that a vast educational landscape like ours carries. Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji often says, bigger challenges implies greater opportunities. To revamp our educational system, thereby paving the way for the new normal, we have introduced the National Education Policy 2020. The NEP 2020 is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, educational reform that has been introduced during the pandemic anywhere in the world. It has emerged from one of the largest consultative processes conducted in the history of any education system to establish a student-centric paradigm. The policy is based on the foundations of affordability, access, equity, and quality, and synergize the talent of our youth with top-notch content. You will all agree with me that the culture of rote learning affects the creativity of our students. My dear friends, with the implementation of NEP 2020, we will witness a shift to emphasize from what to think to how to think in our curriculum. Along with providing flexibility and power of choice to our students, the policy promotes experiential and hybrid learning, vocational education, multilingualism, and give greater impetus to a culture of research and innovation in the country. Like Prime Minister Modi said in his Independence Day speech this year, that with this children will stumble neither due to lack of skill nor will they bound by language barriers. He added that language will be the instrument for fighting poverty in the new national education policy. Digitalization has expedited the process of democratization of education, where knowledge will be delivered to the nook and cranny of the country without prejudice to any social or economic category. The NEP will be a true equalizer, enabling the agency of a child to reach its full potential. With the new policy, we also witness a shift from a solely right-centric thinking to an emphasis also on responsibilities and duty-based education. These changes, I am confident, will establish India as a leader in the era of the knowledge economy. One of the critical lessons of the pandemic for us has been that technology will play an essential role in the future of education in India. Through multimodal ways of learning, we are ensuring continuous and quality education for all.
Are you from here?
Just visiting. It's my last night actually.
That's so many moments.
एक रात में पूरी जिंदगी जी सकते हैं.
Try करते हैं.
हर पल जी ले तू अभी, हर लम्हा है जिंदगी.
Magic in your eyes, there's magic in the air.
तो कैसी रही जिंदगी?
Every moment was magic.
There's magic
Make
in
every moment a magic moment.
मुझे जॉब छोड़ा फिर भी सो कूल.
ब्रो, नए चैलेंजेस नए मौके लाते हैं.
अच्छा.
सीरियसली राहुल, मेरा पूरा घर नाउ इट्स एन ऑनलाइन रिटेल स्टोर. देख.
वाओ. लेकिन पैसे?
कुछ साल पहले दिवाली बोनस को इन्वेस्ट किया था.
और अब तो है LIC का यूलिप प्लान निवेश प्लस. एक बार इन्वेस्ट करो, इंश्योरेंस से सुरक्षा का लाभ और मार्केट की बढ़त का फायदा दोनों पाओ.
1 sec राहुल.
मैडम, यू आर डबल कूल.
Today, mobile phones which our children use for chatting have become their learning companions. The television used to watch entertainment shows are now being utilized to watch educative content. The headphones that our children use to enjoy music also play educative podcasts. Today, technology has enabled us to take such innovative means of learning to the farthest corner of the country. Through the concept of smart village, the innovative means of pedagogy now permeates our rural areas effectively. With concept of smart village, our youth in rural areas benefit from the technological advancement in the education sector. NEP 2020 recognizes the importance of leveraging technology and integrating it with mainstream education. The policy recommends setting up the National Education Technology Forum to facilitate decision making on the induction, deployment and use of technology. While technology holds high significance, there will be a hybrid education model wherein technology will supplement the classroom teaching experience in future. It is a moment of joy for all of us that few weeks ago NEP 2020 completed its first year, and I assure you we are working relentlessly towards its implementation in letter and spirit. My dear friends, the pandemic has led to the innovative ways of learning and allow us to reflect upon where we are and where we want to be in the future. India has the youngest population in the world. We will ensure that we provide our youth with high quality educational opportunities which will also determine the destiny of our country. I am sure that the implementation of the NEP 2020 in its entirety will become the cornerstone of the new normal in education for India and transform our educational landscape for the greater good for all our citizens. Thank you friends. Jai Hind.
Are you from here?
Just visiting. It's my last night actually.
That's so many moments.
एक रात में पूरी जिंदगी जी सकते हैं.
Try करते हैं.
हर पल जी ले तू अभी, हर लम्हा है जिंदगी.
magic in your eyes, there's magic in the air.
तो कैसी रही जिंदगी?
Every moment was magic.
There's magic
Make
in
every moment a magic moment.
My journey of insurance and investments began at the same time when I invested in LIC SEEP. In this fast-moving world, SEEP can balance your funds with security and growth. SEEP will take care of the ups and downs of the market and will give you fruitful results so that you enjoy the ride. And when SEEP is with you, you can soar high.
LIC's unit-linked insurance plan SEEP offers savings and protection so that you can soar high in your life. LIC, हर पल आपके साथ.
Now, all you mind rockers out there, y'all are very savvy on the internet, we know that. So next up, we've lined up YouTuber Carry Minati talking about how to break the internet, followed by author Amish Tripathi on learning in times of COVID. Lessons for the young. Take a look.
He's not just India's biggest YouTuber, he is Asia's biggest YouTuber with over 30 million subscribers. When Carry Minati uploads a video, the youth doesn't just listen to it or like it or laugh to it. It basically nods its heads in agreement and says, hell yeah. But you know what? Not everybody is happy with Carry Minati's communication skills. The parents especially have its fair share bit of problems with his abuses ki bahut char. But then Carry Minati would not be Carry Minati, and he wouldn't have the army of fans that he did if he censored himself. We are thrilled to have with us on India Today's E-mindrocks, the voice of the youth itself, Carry Minati. Welcome, Carry Minati. How are you doing?
I'm doing very good. Thank you for the wonderful introduction.
How was this pandemic and this lockdown for you?
This pandemic, when it started initially, तो ये ऐसा ही था, fantasy kind of, जहाँ पर सब lockdown हो गए हैं और सब मेरी जिंदगी जी रहे हैं जैसे मैं जीता हूँ. Which is normally I don't go out much. मैं अपने घर पे ही रहता हूँ and I work. That's it. तो जब ये शुरू हुआ, हाँ, तो जब ये शुरू हुआ, then starting में तो I was very, I don't know, एक excitement थी, एक obviously वो था कि थोड़ा सा panic था because everything was getting shut down. But at the same time एक एक्साइटमेंट थी कि अब एक कुछ नया फेज आ रहा है लाइफ का, एक नया कुछ डिफरेंट है ये, जहाँ पर यू कैन नॉट गेट आउट. बट जैसे जैसे टाइम बढ़ता गया आई रियलाइज्ड कि ये तो हमारे साथ खेल रहा है, हमारे दिमाग के साथ खेल रहा है लिटरली. बिकॉज एक होता है कि तुम अपने फैसले से बाहर नहीं जा रहे हो, एक होता है कि तुम्हारे पास वो फैसले करने का ऑप्शन है ही नहीं. लेकिन अब इंस्टाग्राम पे क्या है, बिकॉज आई वॉज नॉट गोइंग एनीवेयर, ठीक है, एंड आई वॉज मोस्टली एट माई हाउस making videos and just repeating the schedule every day ना. So it just felt कि मैं अब क्या ऐसी क्या story डाल दूँ जिससे मैं अलग क्या दिखाऊँ. There is nothing to show, right?
Were you able to, I mean, create stuff for your YouTube channel? वो आसानी थी?
See, YouTube is a very different game than Instagram. YouTube में क्या है ना, I realized कि since अब क्योंकि अब almost I think 2 साल होने वाले हैं since the lockdown began और the pandemic को चालू हुए. So तब से लेकिन अब तक आई फील कि बहुत टाइम बदल चुका हूँ और मैं भी बदल चुका हूँ इन टर्म्स ऑफ कि कैसे मैं कंटेंट को देखता हूँ और कैसे मैं अपने चैनल को देखता हूँ. अर्लियर इट यूज्ड टू बी मोर लाइक कि हमें क्या करना है ना, हमें हर महीने, ठीक है, एक वीडियो निकालनी है जिससे लोग एंटरटेन हो. नाउ द पर्पस हैज चेंज्ड, ठीक है. नाउ आई एम मोर इनटू कि मैं ऐसा क्या बनाऊं जिससे ज्यादा इम्पैक्ट आए. क्या होता है ना, व्हेन यू आर एट होम ना, एक तो डिस्ट्रैक्शंस, ऊपर से क्या है ना, तुम्हारे माइंड में एक बबल बन जाता है तुम्हारा कि कैसे वर्ल्ड तुम्हें परसीव करता है एंड एवरीथिंग. नाउ वो तब तक नहीं टूटता है अनटिल अनलेस तुम बाहर नहीं जाते हो, तुम लोगों से इंटरेक्ट नहीं करते हो, तब वो ब्रेक होता है. बट क्योंकि पैंडेमिक था, यू कैन नॉट इंटरेक्ट विद एनीबॉडी, यू कैन नॉट गो आउट, तो तुम्हें वो पता नहीं. तो मेरा भी एक बबल बन गया दिमाग में. तो उससे क्या हुआ ना कि आई फेल्ट वेरी रिस्ट्रिक्टेड. आई फेल्ट कि एक ब्लॉक था मेरे दिमाग में. मतलब क्या होता है ना कि हमारे दिमाग में अपने आप ही रिस्ट्रिक्शंस आ जाती है. बिकॉज आई फील हर क्रिएटर ना कि एवरी क्रिएटर इज वेरी इनसिक्योर. एवरी क्रिएटर, आई डोंट थिंक ऐसा कोई भी होगा. लाइक हाँ, लोग बोलते हैं कि नहीं, आई एम वेरी कॉन्फिडेंट इन एवरीथिंग, दे आर, बट आई स्टिल फील कि हर क्रिएटर ना कहीं इनसिक्योर होता है अपने कंटेंट को लेके, अपनी चीजों को लेके. जो कि आई थिंक ये लॉकडाउन काइंड ऑफ एक ब्लेसिंग था मेरे लिए, बिकॉज इट हेल्प मी ओवरकम दोज थिंग्स.
जब आप बाहर जाते हैं तो कभी आपको लोग रास्ते पे लोग के बोलते हैं यार कैरी जस्ट टोन डाउन ऑन द अब्यूजेस, यू नो, ये होता था पहले? आई मीन, यू नो, व्हेन यू वुड बी स्टेपिंग आउट, और वो स्पेशली अमंग लेट्स से द एल्डरली जनरेशन, द पेरेंट्स जनरेशन, व्हेन दे वुड रिकॉग्नाइज यू, वो होता था?
सी, पहली चीज तो व्हेन आई एम लाइक, पहली बात तो कि जब ऐसी सिचुएशंस आती है ना, ठीक है, इट्स वेरी मतलब मजाक वाली बात, ठीक है, because when you're talking on
Okay,
social media or maybe commenting on social media versus when you're meeting that person face to face ना, तो obviously so suppose you hate someone on social media, yeah, even you don't agree with somebody on social media, but that doesn't mean कि अगर तुम उनसे face to face मिलोगे तो उनको तुम पानी नहीं पूछोगे या तुम उनको ये नहीं बोलोगे अरे यार क्या चल रहा है, क्या हाल है, you won't, ऐसा नहीं होगा, you won't greet them, right? तो I feel कि सोशल मीडिया और हमारी जो रियल लाइफ है उसके बीच में हमेशा एक फर्क आ जाता है। तो एट द एंड ऑफ द लाइफ की ज्यादातर लोग अप्रिशिएट ही करते हैं, ठीक है, एंड इफ दे डोंट अटैक यू, ठीक है, वो ऐसे अटैक नहीं करते मुझे कि यू नो तुम ऐसे ऐसे करते हो, क्यों करते हो, दे आर नॉट ऑन माय नर्व्स और एनीथिंग।
यू नो अभी रिसेंटली आपने एक बिग बॉस की रोस्टिंग की जिसमें आपने एनिमेशन भी यूज किया एंड इट्स अ वीडियो दैट यू वर्कड ऑन फॉर द लॉन्गेस्ट टाइम, इट्स योर लॉन्गेस्ट ड्यूरेशन वीडियो। यू नो यू वांट टू टेल मी समथिंग कि व्हाई डिड यू डिसाइड टू डू एनिमेशन एंड मोर इम्पोर्टेंटली नाउ तो यू आर वर्किंग इन बॉलीवुड, कैरी मिनाटी, आपको डर नहीं लगता टू रोस्ट ऑल दीज एक्टर्स एंड आई मीन सलमान खान, पता नहीं आप नेक्स्ट टाइम यू कैन वर्क विद हिम ऑल्सो इन द नियर फ्यूचर, यू वर्क विद अजय देवगन, व्हेन इज द डे far when you'll work with Salman Khan?
See, even if I work with Salman Khan, that doesn't mean कि मैं उन्हें ट्रोल नहीं कर सकता, and even if I am working with Ajay Devgan, that doesn't mean कि मैं उन्हें ट्रोल नहीं कर सकता. That is very different things, and these people, okay, they have a lot of knowledge in terms of how entertainment business works. So more मतलब like how much I have talked, I have realized कि इन लोगों को इतना कुछ पहली चीज तो फर्क नहीं पड़ता, and they understand कि entertainment is entertainment, so I don't mind. And coming back, what was the initial question? I just forgot. I am so sorry.
ये मैं ये पूछ रही थी कि बिग बॉस आपने बिंज वॉच किया टू मेक दिस वीडियो एंड देन यू डिसाइडेड कि एनिमेशन करना है। पहले बिग बॉस तो देखना ही सबसे बड़ी लाइक टास्क है, बिंज वॉच करना तो और बड़ा टास्क है, तो थोड़ा बताइए हाउ डिड यू डू दिस एंड व्हाई एनिमेशन?
See, I'll tell you. So animation has been बचपन से it has been a big dream of mine कि I want to create something. I remember earlier days में ना मैं मतलब जब तुम छोटे होते हैं ना, you see these cartoons, ठीक है, I feel वो बहुत जरूरी है कि बच्चे cartoons देखें because उनकी imagination बढ़ाते हैं। जब तुम बचपन में animations देखते हो तुम्हें बहुत magical लगती है सारी चीज कि ये ऐसे क्यों है, ये क्या है, ये ऐसे क्यों कर रहा है and everything, right? Now I have realized it is very difficult to execute a project which is animated because see when it's real life ना, जब तुम real life में shoot कर रहे हो you can improv, you can think about stuff, you can reshoot, you can take different shots जिससे maybe तुम्हारे content में थोड़ी और diversity आ सकती है, but animation needs to be planned from 0.00 seconds to till the end of 5 minutes जितना भी है, ठीक है, it needs to be pre-planned everything. 2021 or 2020 I would say, ठीक है, I was in a position जहाँ पे I felt कि I was done with just maintaining my channel, just uploading for the sake of making my channel active. I needed more impact and I wanted to do things जो मैं शुरू से प्लान कर रहा हूँ. So I think अब नहीं करूँगा मैं तो कब करूँगा. So this was my moment when I decided that I need to do it. And surprisingly, I won't say surprisingly, but happily enough, मेरे जो skills थे वो writing skills थे वो match कर गए and I was able to pull that off. So I just feel कि बहुत जब तुम, and I think ये मेरा पहला project था animation में and you learn a lot with it. So I'm pretty sure कि जो next वाला भी मैं जिस पे काम करूँगा ना, I think it would be 10 times much better.
अब ये भी जो वीडियो है ये जिस पे आपने इतना टाइम किया, ये भी आपने रात को किया बिकॉज आई सोर्सेस टेल मी कि यू ओनली स्टार्ट वर्किंग फ्रॉम इवनिंग ऑनवर्ड्स और सुबह को आप सोते हैं. बेसिकली यू आर एन आउल स्लैश वैम्पायर. इज इट ट्रू? इज कैरी मिनाटी एट इट्स मोस्ट क्रिएटिव बेस्ट ओनली व्हेन द सन कम्स डाउन?
See, it's not कि I am at my best when the sun comes down, but what happens is रात में ना ऐसे होता है कि रात में ना you have no distractions, there is nobody to disturb you, nobody is knocking your door in every 2 minutes saying ये काम वो काम ये कुछ वो कुछ, and you have zero meetings. Now what happens is usually if I wake up in the day ना, ठीक है, I'll wake up, I'll freshen up, मैं बैठता हूँ, I'll have a coffee, and I'll sit in front of my laptop. What will happen is कि मुझे कॉल आ जाएगा, ठीक है, किसी का, मे बी नॉकिंग। मेरे अभी घर पे रेनोवेशन चल रही है, सो आवाजें आती रहती है, ऐसा लगता है कि F1 रेसिंग हो रही है मेरे जस्ट ऊपर रूफटॉप पे, सो आई हेट दैट। तो रात का टाइम बहुत शांति वाला होता है, एंड इट्स वेरी इजी टू गेट इनटू दैट जोन, क्योंकि क्या होता है व्हेन यू इन योर थॉट ना, और एकदम से वो थॉट ब्रेक हो जाए, तो एटलीस्ट 25 to 30 मिनट लगते हैं उस पर वापस आने के लिए। दैट टाइम आई कैन नॉट अफोर्ड।
Are you from here?
Just visiting. It's my last night actually.
That's so many moments.
एक रात में पूरी जिंदगी जी सकते हैं.
Try करते हैं.
हर पल जी ले तू अभी, हर लम्हा है जिंदगी।
Magic in your eyes, there's magic in the air.
तो कैसी रही जिंदगी?
Every moment was magic.
There's magic
Make every moment a magic moment.
मुझे जॉब छोड़ा फिर भी सो कूल।
ब्रो, नए चैलेंजेस नए मौके लाते हैं।
अच्छा,
सीरियसली राहुल, मेरा पूरा घर नाउ इट्स एन ऑनलाइन रिटेल स्टोर। देख।
वाओ, लेकिन पैसे?
कुछ साल पहले दिवाली बोनस को इन्वेस्ट किया था।
और अब तो है LIC का यूलिप प्लान निवेश प्लस। एक बार इन्वेस्ट करो, इंश्योरेंस से सुरक्षा का लाभ और मार्केट की बढ़त का फायदा दोनों पाओ।
1 sec राहुल।
मैडम, यू आर डबल कूल।
You started out as a gamer, Carry. You uploaded, first video was you playing a video game. अब देखो तो लाइक ई स्पोर्ट्स और गेमिंग तो लाइक भौचार है। आई मीन इनफैक्ट मैं कहीं पढ़ रही थी कि ड्यूरिंग द लॉकडाउन इट वाज द वीडियो गेम इंडस्ट्री विच ग्रू द मोस्ट, और अभी बात चल रही है कि भाई ओलंपिक्स में भी ई स्पोर्ट्स को लाया जाए। यू नो, डिड यू एक्चुअली इमेजिन गेमिंग वुड बिकम सो ह्यूज, यू नो, नाउ द वे इट हैज टेकन ऑफ, स्पेशली ड्यूरिंग लॉकडाउन एंड पैंडेमिक?
सी आई थिंक उन लोगों के लिए ज्यादा सरप्राइजिंग होगा जो लोग गेमिंग इंडस्ट्री में नहीं, या फिर they don't indulge in video games, but he who has been gaming his entire life, ठीक है, ऐसे मुझे बहुत टाइम नहीं हो गया, बट पैदा हुए इतना टाइम नहीं हुआ है मुझे, बट आई वुड से कि since the time I was conscious I have been interested in video games, ठीक है। So for me I feel अभी भी इंडस्ट्री as such explode नहीं करी है, ठीक है, because right now I feel
अच्छा, okay,
गेमिंग है, बिकॉज मोबाइल गेमिंग श्योरली उसने एक टर्न लिया है और श्योरली उसने एक्सप्लोड किया है, ठीक है, एंड दैट्स जस्ट बिकॉज इसकी एक्सेसिबिलिटी बढ़ गई है। मोबाइल फोन सबके पास है एंड एवरीबॉडी कैन इंस्टॉल फ्री फायर और पबजी और कॉल ऑफ ड्यूटी, दैट्स व्हाई इट हैज ग्रोन टू दिस लेवल। नाउ अभी भी आई फील देयर आर मेनी एस्पेक्ट्स ऑफ गेमिंग इन इंडिया दैट नीड्स टू ग्रो। फॉर एग्जांपल, देयर इज अ PC gaming community, there is a console gaming community, there is a Nintendo gaming community which is like very very small right now. Now these things will grow जैसे जैसे PCs या फिर consoles और accessible होंगे.
You, Carry Minati, during the last 12 months went on a set of a film where worked with Ajay Devgan on a film called Mayday. अब ये acting, is this full-time profession, and is this, can I say Carry Minati has been bitten by the acting bug? What was that experience like?
Okay, so me and acting. Okay.
हाँ जी.
I wouldn't say कि मैं और एक्टिंग हमेशा अच्छे दोस्त रहे हैं। मतलब मेरे साथ ना थोड़ा वियर्ड सीन है विद एक्टिंग, बिकॉज क्या है ना, एक्टिंग इज अ स्किल दैट you need to invest time in, and you need to learn that, you need to experience that, and you need to carry the same pain that character carries, right? So many carries. But I would say, like, for the longest time, like, I have given so many auditions over the years. ठीक है, इतने auditions दिए and it was never like कि that is my primary focus, but it's just कि let's see क्या होता है.
अच्छा.
Everybody everybody is
okay.
Auditions in terms of
किसके? Like ads के, films किसके?
Not ads. I don't as a generally like audition for ads, but in films and web series and for maybe different platforms as well. ठीक है, तो उनकी तरफ से भी like there are like casting agencies जो they approach you. I know it's बहुत लोगों का ultimate goal होता है they want to go into Bollywood, but I just feel कि जो मेरा style है and which the type of content and the style of content that I like, I even discussed that on the sets of Mayday with a lot of people that my style is very different, I believe, and my primary objective is I can never be satisfied अगर मैं सिर्फ एक actor हूँ. I need to be behind everything. ठीक है, it should be my way. That's how I want it. क्या होता है ना, as you're growing your YouTube channel or maybe as a creator you go growing your audience, ठीक है, you realize कि तुमसे ज्यादा ना किसी को नहीं पता what is best for your audience. वो तुम्हें ही पता है. And for me, अगर मैं behind the scenes नहीं हूँ ना, तो मुझे front पे रहने में भी इतना confidence नहीं आएगा, because वो चीज मेरी नहीं है, मैंने नहीं लिखी है.
If I was to ask you to look back on your life, and it's 22 years of your life, what is the one moment for you that is truly good news? That's something that gives you hope, or maybe something that made you happy. Is there one moment that you always go back to and say, yeah, that was a good time?
जब तुम moment जी रहे होते हो ना, you don't really feel कि हाँ अभी मैं खुश हूँ. But when you look back, then you feel happy. So I'll describe your moment when I was 18. ठीक है, I had the pleasure to interview Tom Cruise. Even if it was for what, just one question, और उसके अंदर भी I was very nervous और मैंने बहुत fumble कर दिया. But still I feel it was very like when I look back at it, it feels great. मैंने कहा यार मैं 2018 में I was 18 and I met Tom Cruise. Yeah.
Great. I am now going to move to the most exciting thing, which I'm really now I'm waiting to hear responses, which is a rapid fire round. And Carry Minati has to be at his most honest and his most wittiest best in this, okay? So the first thing is, which is your favorite YouTube channel other than yours? कौन सा YouTube channel favorite है?
Recently, I've been watching this channel called Best Food Review Ever. It's something like that. So this guy, what he does is goes around the world eating different kind of foods. And he'll even eat a raw goat or something.
3 essential qualities that a YouTuber should possess.
3 essential qualities. Patience. Perception of how you look at your content. That really matters. And the third thing I could be... what would you call never giving up?
Persistence, basically. हाँ, PP हो गया, 3 Ps हो गए. Okay.
3 Ps.
Noted. If you could change one thing on YouTube, what it would be?
Now, if I'm running YouTube, I'm not thinking about कि मैं company को कैसे पैसा बनाऊं, because I'm also a creator. ठीक है, at heart. So अगर मैं वो बिल्कुल perspective वो छोड़ दूं कि मुझे पैसा बनाना है, and if I look at from a completely creator's perspective, I would say कि मैं वैसा type of content ज़्यादा promote करवाऊंगा जो ज़्यादा raw और natural, rather than content which is more ad friendly and which is more just suitable for the family friendly audience, right? Because that's basically वो थोड़ा commercial side हो जाता है, and I feel ज़्यादातर लोग क्या है ना नहीं पाते हैं उस चक्कर में, because they feel कि ऐसे type of content promote होता है, then मैं जो हूँ, मेरी जो पर्सनैलिटी है, आई थिंक उसमें कुछ गलत है. सो वो परसेप्शन जब जाता है ना, तो वो गलत है, उसका गलत इम्पैक्ट आता है. आई फील तो यूट्यूब को थोड़ा रॉ और नेचुरल कंटेंट व्हिच इज मोर रिलेटेबल, नॉट इन टर्म्स ऑफ जस्ट यू नो बेसिक थिंग्स, बट जो लिटरली तुम्हारे इंसान की सोल को पकड़ता है ना, दे शुड प्रमोट दैट.
Noted. The app that you use most after YouTube, I mean YouTube तो आप use ही करते होंगे, but what's the second most app that you use?
I've been using Audible lately. Just when I cannot read, I try कि मैं जो books है वो सुनूं.
Who was your first crush?
Kamal R. Khan.
Worst habit of Carry Minati's.
Biting nails.
What's your guilty pleasure?
ASMR videos. I mean, okay. ठीक है, मैं डिफेंड भी नहीं करूंगा अपने आप को, जो सोचना है सोचो है.
One thing you will never see on Carry's channels.
Probably me twerking.
Favorite artist? I mean, by artist I mean obviously a singer, because you are a rapper yourself. So I wanted to know.
Singer. It's very hard to. Johnny Cash.
Okay. One word to sum up the pandemic/lockdown. One word.
Frustrating.
अच्छा, is there a favorite curse word that Carry Minati has these days, जो आता रहता है बीच में?
Do you want me to say that? I won't say it.
अरे come on, अभी YouTube पे कह सकते तो यहाँ क्यों नहीं कह सकते?
नहीं, because
ये भी YouTube पे ही जा रहा है.
पिछली बार जब मैंने वो शब्द कहा था तो I was banned.
First word that comes to your mind when I say Facebook.
Mark Zuckerberg.
Okay. Twitter? Don't say now, Jack.
Larry Bird.
Okay. Kunal Kamra.
Political comedy.
TikTok.
Real life comedy.
Trolls.
Love them.
You love them? Wow, okay. I mean, you'll engage with them and you'll love them as well. Noted. What's been your magic moment?
बहुत लोगों को लगता है ये एक रेस है. बहुत लोगों को लगता है कि अगर हम वीडियोस नहीं डालेंगे तो हमारी बोट डूब जाएगी. ठीक है, which is I believe is not true. ठीक है, but many people have that pressure कि अगर मैं आज नहीं डालूंगा या मैं एक हफ्ते में नहीं डालूंगा, एक महीने में नहीं डालूंगा तो नैया ढह जाएगी मेरी. Now I have kind of changed that perception अपना. ठीक है, so I have realized कि जितना तुम ज्यादा absorb करोगे ना उतना तुम अच्छे बनोगे प्रोडक्शन में. ठीक है, अगर तुम प्रोड्यूस ज्यादा करोगे, absorb कम करोगे, then you just repeating yourself. You just repeating yourself. काम की तरह उसको ले रहे हो तुम. Now when you absorb, let's suppose तुम 70% absorb करते हो और उस 70% में से I would say you would take what 8 to 9% जो तुम सारे चीजें तुमने absorb किया over the month or over 2 months, तुम वो सारी चीजों से inspire होके एक प्रोडक्ट बनाते हो अपना. Now that's when I say I'm in that magical moment. I'm in a transitional period जहाँ पर I am trying to transform myself because that's what I like to do. I don't like to remain. मैं एक चीज पे फोकस, मतलब एक चीज पे फिक्सेट नहीं होना चाहता कभी भी. And that's what I did with the recent video as well with Big Boss. I brought animation, I brought skits जो I would say काफी unique थी in terms of अभी जो चल रहा है. So that this is my magic moment.
Thank you so much, Carry, for joining us on India Today's E-mindrocks. Really appreciate for your time, and please keep producing all the wonderful YouTube videos that you do. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's been my pleasure.
Thank
and
you.
I really love the background you have behind you. Really amazing. Speak for us.
Thank you.
Are you from here?
Just visiting. It's my last night actually.
That's so many moments.
एक रात में पूरी जिंदगी जी सकते हैं.
Try करते हैं.
हर पल जी ले तू अभी, हर लम्हा है जिंदगी.
Magic in your eyes, there's magic in the air.
तो कैसी रही जिंदगी?
Every moment was magic.
There's magic
Make every moment a magic moment.
My journey of insurance and investments began at the same time when I invested in LIC SEEP. In this fast-moving world, SEEP can balance your funds with security and growth. SEEP will take care of the ups and downs of the market and will give you fruitful results so that you enjoy the ride. And when SEEP is with you, you can soar high.
LIC's unit-linked insurance plan SEEP offers savings and protection so that you can soar high in your life. LIC, हर पल आपके साथ.
Hello and welcome to a special session of Mind Rocks. I'm Gaurav Sawant. Now this session is special because my guest on Mind Rocks literally rocks the literary world. Author Amish Tripathi, the youngest director of the Nehru Centre at London. Amish is the author of 9 books including the Shiva trilogy, the Ramchandra series and the immortal India, the legend of Sohail Dev. Amish, welcome to Mind Rocks, where we discuss learning in times of COVID, lessons for the young.
Thanks, Gaurav. Always a pleasure to be with you, my friend.
Thank you very much. Amish, how have you been coping in these very difficult COVID times?
The way I see it, there's no point getting into a negative mind frame. What has happened has happened. We have to live. We have to live with it. And I think our philosophies, our ancient philosophies, help us through this. I've passed through my own, personal pain as well over the last 5-6 years. The career has done well, but on the personal life, that's the way the universe balances itself, I guess. My family has been through difficult times.
You lost your father. I'm very sorry to to hear this. You lost your father, late Vinay Tripathi ji, just last month. How have you coped with this?
It was a difficult time, and like I said, my family we've lost a lot of people over the last 5-6 years. There have been health troubles, some tragically, and even my father passed away very suddenly, and I rushed back. But look, I mean, if there was a Pandit who told us that it's a blessing to pass away peacefully. It's more difficult for the family left behind. But my father was working till the last morning, and the responsibility is up to us children to carry it forward. He was, as you know, an inventor, a scientist. We announced a massive discovery that he had made just 2 months back. We were very happy about it. That's why it is so much of a shock that we lost him so suddenly after that. But my twin brother Ashish and my elder brother Anishta, they are driving the company, and we will carry his legacy forward.
Does our culture, does our religion help you and help people who seem to follow this cope better?
I think so, yes. Look, the dharmic religions, I'm not belittling or any other religion. Every religion has its strengths and areas of improvements. But the dharmic religions, Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, Sikhism, essentially treat you like an adult, not as a child who has to be given a list of do's and don'ts. The dharmic religions essentially give you philosophies, and tell you that, look, life will have its ups and downs. And in fact, Gautam Buddha put it front and center when the first of his 4 noble truths was that the reality of the universe is grief. That is the first fundamental reality. And you can cope with it only if you accept it. You suffer when you start thinking about mere saath ye sab kyun ho raha hai. You don't suffer when you realize yaar sabke saath ho raha hai. There's a reality of life. That is not going to give you purpose. That is not going to give you happiness.
Through your writings, you're once again trying to bring us back to our family values, to our culture, to our history, to our community values. What is your advice to today's youngsters in terms of how to cope with these COVID times?
Yeah, there is no one who can escape grief. All of us have our share of it, right? What gets us through it is actually our close friends and family. those who are with you, a sense of family, a sense of community. And those who are with you through thick and thin, in my opinion, are never more than 5, maybe 10 people. Those who will die for you without a second thought. Those who you will die for. And in India, fortunately, the way our traditions are, you can be traditional and liberal at the same time. You don't have that choice in most other countries. Like in the West, they've taken liberalism to such an extreme that they've destroyed all traditions, most sense of community, which is not good. You're lonely, right? Yes. Or you'll find some Middle Eastern countries where the traditions are so strong that there's no space for liberalism. There's no space for women's rights. There's no space for LGBT rights. India can give you that fine balance. You can have the strength that comes from a sense of tradition, a sense of family, and you can have the freedom that comes with a sense of liberalism as well, because our traditions are by themselves liberal.
Absolutely. Okay, let's quickly get into a quick fire round. There are lots of questions that have come from youngsters and they want this celebrity Amish to answer these questions. Life's most important lessons from the pandemic as far as Amish is concerned.
Realizing what truly matters to you, man. I'm not saying don't chase your career. Of course, you must succeed in life. You have to work hard, but realize that there are other things to life outside of your career as well. Your family, your relations, your sense of community, your country. Spend time on that too. You'll realize that gives you that strength to get through such difficult times.
Very well said. So you're saying invest in spending time with your parents, with your siblings, with your friends. They are the only ones who will stand by you in a difficult moment. Now, 5 books, according to you, that every youth must read.
Okay. I mean, 2 very obviously, the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, which are the entry into our scriptural traditions. Because I'm a Shaivite, I'll say the Shiv Puran. I think it rocks. You should check it out. The Rig Veda, if I might suggest that. Ideally, you should read it with a commentary, but do check it out. And the Ishavasya Upanishad. It is the shortest Upanishad there is, but among the shortest, sorry. And but the depth in it, the depth of philosophies in it, are so fantastic. They can truly change your outlook to life. And if there's space for one more, read my books, man.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, as someone who's read all your books, I absolutely strongly recommend that for all our youngsters. It's such a great way to connect with the past and then with the present. 5 classics, Amish, according to you, that youth must read and possess.
Okay. You know, the Sanskrit word for a classic is Kal Jai, that which defeats time. It's a very deep word. And I would suggest a few books from our own traditions. One is Kalidasa's, Kumara Sambhava. It is about the birth of Lord Kartik, and you have to read of the way he's described the love between Lord Shiva and Goddess Parvati. You know, those of us who think Indians are all conservative tradition, read that text. It is so beautiful, right? Then the one who Kalidasa wrote about as the greatest Sanskrit writer ever, which is Bhasa. So there's this text of his called Pancharatra, a completely, rebellious take on the Mahabharata. He changed the story completely, man. Bhasa, probably 2,500 years old. Check that out. Check Thiruvalluvar's Thirukural. Beautiful, poetry on 3 of the 4 Purusharthas. Deep philosophy. It takes a genius to convey philosophies to you through just 2 lines. It's actually couplets, and each couplet, conveys a philosophy that a lesser author like me would need an entire book for. Right? That was Thiruvalluvar's genius. I would suggest from the modern classics, S.L. Bhairappa, Parva. Certainly check him out. Brilliant author. And I would suggest Narendra Kohli's Mahasamar.
Are you from here?
Just visiting. It's my last night actually.
That's so many moments.
एक रात में पूरी जिंदगी जी सकते हैं.
Try करते हैं.
हर पल जी ले तू अभी, हर लम्हा है जिंदगी.
Magic in your eyes, there's magic in the air.
तो कैसी रही जिंदगी?
Every moment was magic.
There's magic
Make every moment a magic moment.
मुझे जॉब छोड़ा फिर भी सो कूल.
ब्रो, नए चैलेंजेस नए मौके लाते हैं.
अच्छा.
सीरियसली राहुल, मेरा पूरा घर नाउ इट्स एन ऑनलाइन रिटेल स्टोर. देख.
वाओ. लेकिन पैसे?
कुछ साल पहले दिवाली बोनस को इन्वेस्ट किया था.
और अब तो है LIC का यूलिप प्लान निवेश प्लस. एक बार इन्वेस्ट करो, इंश्योरेंस से सुरक्षा का लाभ और मार्केट की बढ़त का फायदा दोनों पाओ.
वन सेक राहुल.
मैडम, यू आर डबल कूल.
Recently, there was a function at Ayodhya at the Sri Ram Janmabhoomi to mark the first anniversary of the Bhumi Pujan for the construction of a Divya Bhavya Sri Ram temple at Ayodhya. Now, some would argue, why is a temple important in today's day and age when some say the focus should be perhaps on building more hospitals or schools or engineering colleges?
No, one is not saying that you shouldn't build hospitals and colleges, and those are being built, right? The number of medical college seats, for example, have more than doubled in the last 5 years. But one of the things our ancestors taught us is that to have a complete life, you need 4 purusharthas. You need artha, which is not just wealth. It's erroneously translated as wealth. It's wealth, fame, power, everything. We need to be a powerful country. So you need artha. You need kama, which is all the sensual pleasures of life, not just eroticism, music, dance, everything. Right? You need dharma and you need moksha. You need all 4 to lead a complete life. And the temple is the heart of our dharma. The temple is where we connect with our divine. The temple is where we connect with Lord Ram.
We need to connect with our roots, is what you're saying. We need to take pride in our rich history, in our vibrant culture. Generations have been brought up perhaps to think that all of this is make-believe. For example, the Pushpak Viman that we read about in the Ramayana. Now, history has taught us that the first flight was by Wright brothers in 1903. So, what was the Pushpak Viman all about in your view, Amish?
Look, the way I see it, there are things that we learn about from a metaphorical perspective, and there are things which are actually the history of science. Now, one of the things that many people don't know, there was a scientist in India who actually discovered the theory and actually showed it in practice a few years before the Wright brothers. But most of us Indians don't know this, right? We are not taught our own sciences, our own mathematics. Most of us don't know that Bodhayana discovered the Pythagoras theorem before Pythagoras did. Most of us don't know that plastic surgery was indeed practiced in ancient India. It is described in the texts of Shushrut and Charak. And there is a class of Indians which will believe things only when Westerners record it. So the first recorded nose reconstruction surgery in the modern world was recorded by a Westerner 300 years ago, who recorded an Indian surgeon doing it on a soldier of the Maratha army 300 years ago. So a Westerner recorded it. Our metallurgical, our navigation techniques, we had, people keep saying, we are told that our ancestors never wrote anything down. We were an oral culture. It is utter bullshit. There are 3 million ancient Sanskrit manuscripts that have been tabulated by the National Mission of Manuscripts. That's more than the rest of the ancient world combined, by the way, combined. The number of ancient Greek manuscripts is just 20 to 30,000. Our ancestors, 3 million. Despite the Nalanda University being destroyed, Takshashila being destroyed, most of those texts are actually not religious texts. They're scientific texts, mathematical texts, physics, chemistry, medicine. We haven't studied our own sciences, so we don't know. We don't know the achievements of our own ancestors, and we're not building on it. The fault is with our education system, which needs to be reformed ASAP.
Oh, absolutely. And since you were mentioning about surgery and Sushrut and Charak, when we speak of Lord Ganesh, for example, elephant head, human body, did we have that kind of advanced knowledge of surgery? Were we far more evolved than we are, or even to reach that stage even today?
Lord Ganesh's story again is metaphorical, because the core belief in that is the acquisition of knowledge through detachment. And in fact, I had written on this in one of my books, which is why Lord Ganesh is considered the god of the writers, not just because he wrote the Mahabharata, but because he was the most intelligent. But there is enough evidence of, very advanced surgery in ancient times. There are descriptions of surgical instruments in Shoshrota and Charaka's text. If I remember correctly, some 52 surgical instruments. They had stitching techniques for wounds in those days, where they used a herb called dadichi, which would actually leave no scars and which was itself an antiseptic. Imagine the stitch itself was antiseptic. We were seriously advanced, and we lost most of it in the last 1,000 years, but much more rapidly in the last 200, 300 years. We have to revive it.
Perhaps you're absolutely right. And is that effort actually happening? Are we moving in that direction? Are your writings or your effort a step to at least attempt to open minds in our country? A desire by the next generation to know more about our history and our culture. Do you see that change happen?
I think the demand is certainly there. I'm sure our youngsters, and I've sensed it whenever I've interacted. Most of my readers are actually the youth. When I interact with them, they want to learn these things. The problem is, frankly, with our generation and with the so-called establishment, that we are not helping the youngsters learn all this. Our syllabus needs to change. Our history texts need to change. The way we teach science needs to change. The way we teach medicine, we need to teach of our own traditions first, and then teach the Western traditions as well. But in the modern way, we teach only Western traditions and nothing of our own traditions. And you see the problems that this causes across our, like Vastu Shastra, for example, is not actually about superstition. It is a deeply scientific way to build buildings in our own climate, right? Because what is an architecture technique for Western Europe doesn't work in India. Glass wall buildings work very well in Western Europe. It's a cold country with a shortage of countries with a shortage of sun, right? But glass wall buildings in India is essentially a giant microwave oven where there's no shortage of sun. We need to use our own techniques, which is there in the Vastu Shastra, but we don't teach them, right? The fault is with the system that we don't teach these things.
Let me pose an example to you from COVID times. Western medicine, everyone approves. The moment you talk about Ayurveda, there is such a hue and cry about Ayurveda being bunkam, and it happens even in today's day and age.
Again, that shows biases, actually. There is enough textual evidence and very good research being done by AIIMS and by the Ayush Ministry, which institutions have been set up, which shows the science behind Ayurveda. But the science behind Ayurveda is there in our ancient texts as well. So, I'm not, from what I know, homeopathy, I admit, perhaps doesn't have as much science behind it. It's not ours in any case, but Ayurveda does. And Ayurveda, the approach to health in Ayurveda is fundamentally different from the approach of Western medicine. Western medicine is very symptomatic driven and relief of symptoms. It doesn't look at a holistic approach of solving problems at the root, often, right? Because monetary incentives are not aligned with it. But Ayurveda is a holistic system. It actually sets your body back into balance. I think, using both Ayurveda and Western medicine, Ayurveda to maintain your health, Western medicine when there's a crisis, would actually lead to better health outcomes.
There's another aspect that I wanted to raise now that we're having this conversation. We've recently, celebrated the second year of abrogation of Article 370, and some seem to be harping on that special status of the only, if I may, Muslim majority state being taken away. But Kashmir also has a very rich historic connection to Lord Shiv, and you've written about it very extensively. Tell our viewers more about Lord Shiv, Shaivism and Jammu and Kashmir.
Kashmir was actually, at some periods in our history, the intellectual heartland of India, and especially of Shaivism. So I, as a Shaivite, really, adore, look up to Kashmir. A millennia, around a millennia ago, Abhinava Gupta, who was a Kashmiri polymath, perhaps one of the finest intellectuals India ever had. His texts on Tantra, on Shaivism, on religious philosophy, on poetry, on dramatics. You can imagine the talent of that great man. And sadly, we learn very little about him. There was a university in ancient Kashmir called Sharda Peeth, which is presently in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. And of course, Nalanda, Takshashila, Ujjaini, Mahadevpuram, they were great. Vikramshila were great, massive universities. Sharda Peeth was perhaps a little smaller, but the quality of intellectual output that used to come from there was of a very, very high order. Sadly, it was attacked in the invasions that happened on Kashmir, again by the Turks, and destroyed. And then you find that the quality of intellectual output started declining, from there. And going back to what I was saying earlier, that we need to have a balance in all our strengths. That of course we need we need that warrior spirit to defend our country, from invaders. We need the ability to make money, to defend. We need artists who come out with beautiful art.
Yes.
But we need intellectuals as well, who can help guide all of us. We are not intellectuals. I mean, intellectuals are those who come up with primary theories, which then those of us can absorb and try and learn and try and explain and understand in our own lives. We need that, those intellectuals as well, which our ancient universities used to produce. Sadly, our modern universities do not honestly produce fresh intellectual output. Most of them are actually just copy-pasting Western theories and replacing Indian terms on it, which is why to most of us who are not intellectuals, those theories make very little sense.
Yes.
Because they don't connect to the real India. And once I've come to the West and seen Western theories from these universities, now I can connect to the theories that our intellectuals tell us in India. And I realize that actually those theories are just Western theories, and they're replacing Western terms with Indian terms. So white patriarchy, Brahminical patriarchy.
Yes.
Which is, if you ask me, a little bizarre, because actually the most powerful Brahmin male ruler in human history was Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, actually. Who's a hero to them. And before that, the most powerful Brahmin male ruler was probably Pushyamitra Shunga. Before that, Ravan. Otherwise, we've had no Brahmin male rulers ruling much of India. The Mauryas were not upper caste, the Guptas were not upper caste, the Marathas were not upper caste. So actually replacing Western theories with Indian terms doesn't connect to India. We need to build our own theories. And I'm not saying everything about India is perfect. There are some good, there are some bad. But we need to have our own theories.
But that's what life actually teaches you, to take the good with the bad. Now, but for one successful Amish, there may be hundreds, perhaps thousands of authors who haven't succeeded. What would your advice be to those authors?
Bro, my suggestion always, write with your heart. Kitab chale na chale, wo Bhagwan ke upar. Your book has to be the voice of your soul, right? Be true to it. If it has to succeed, it will. Karmanya vadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. Actually write your book with that perspective. There is, of course, the practical side. You need to pay bills here. And if you're not born to a wealthy family, as I wasn't, then you need to be practical. Have a job on the side. Let that pay the bills. Keep your writing pure.
Keep your writing pure.
History decide whether it'll work or not.
I will let that be the last word. But of course, before I let you go, you've also said India's spiritual approach is based on exploration, not faith. Tell us more about this.
Yeah, in ancient Vedic Sanskrit, there was no translation for the English word blasphemy. So there are two broad groups of religions. And I'm not deriding any side. Every path has its strengths and weaknesses. The dharmic religions, it's more about the search for wisdom. You can have faith or you may not have faith. That is not central. There are some schools of philosophy where faith is important. Many schools of philosophy in the dharmic religions, Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, Sikhism, they don't have faith. Samkhyas, Mimamsas, Jaina, Buddha, they don't believe in a creator God. Whereas the Abrahamic religions, Islam, Christianity, faith is very central. That is the heart of it. You have to believe in God. So our way, the dharmic way, is more about the quest for knowledge, the quest for wisdom. Or even if you're not following the Gyan Yoga, the quest for bhakti, the quest for karma. It's not faith is not central. You'll find most intriguingly, most interestingly, I don't know if you read the Pew religious survey recently. Indian Muslims and Indian Christians actually also believe in karma, actually also believe in questioning God. That's what the Pew survey actually showed.
Yes.
Which is what I've always held. Indian Muslims, Indian Christians, they are unique. They're very different from how Muslims and Christians behave in many other countries.
And
they are much more open-minded, much more liberal.
And that is why perhaps you're doing much better than many other countries in the world. But as always, it's such a pleasure talking to you, Amish. Many, many thanks for joining me. The last word that you actually said should be perhaps followed by all. It's also there in the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Karmanyavadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. Do thy duty, reward is not thy concern. Amish, many thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
Are you from here?
Just visiting. It's my last night actually.
That's so many moments.
एक रात में पूरी जिंदगी जी सकते हैं.
Try करते हैं.
हर पल जी ले तू अभी, हर लम्हा है जिंदगी.
Magic in your eyes, there's magic in the air.
तो कैसी रही जिंदगी?
Every moment was magic.
There's magic
Make every moment a magic moment.
My journey of insurance and investments began at the same time when I invested in LIC SEEP. In this fast-moving world, SEEP can balance your funds with security and growth. SEEP will take care of the ups and downs of the market and will give you fruitful results so that you enjoy the ride. And when SEEP is with you, you can soar high.
LIC's unit-linked insurance plan SEEP offers savings and protection so that you can soar high in your life. LIC, हर पल आपके साथ.
Have you ever wondered what it takes to be a pan-India superstar? So many of you would aspire to be one. Our next session is with a southern superstar, Roshan Matthews, on what it takes to be a pan-India hero.
Welcome to our Mind Rock session. I'm Nabila Jamal and I have a special guest with me right here, Roshan Matthews, a versatile actor who's transcended borders, really showed us that language is no barrier. He's done several Malayalam films, now into Bollywood. I have him with me right here to give us a glimpse into his journey in the film industry. Roshan, thank you very much and congratulations on your rise.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
All right. Roshan, you know, I'm going to dive straight into your career, your film career. First of all, congratulations for Kuruti. We hear it's done very well on the OTT platform. Your take on that?
Yeah, it feels great. Kuruti was a film that I was always very excited about. It was a great team to work with, an amazing bunch of co-stars, a very exciting, relevant story. So, and more importantly, it was a really really enjoyable shoot experience. So I'm very glad that translated onto how the film is being received by the audience. And I'm very thrilled by the response that it's getting.
I know, and I hear that you were quite jittery to play the role of Ibrahim, but you still, literally slipped into his shoes and so effortlessly, and that's what it shows. I'm going to take, you've got to take us through the ride and journey of that role, but just in a bit. Let me start with your, the days that you started off. You studied engineering, then you did physics, so left both to pursue an acting career entirely. How did you really catch this acting bug?
I didn't really know what to do after school, right? I mean, even after 10th, I wasn't really sure which stream to pick, what I wanted to become, nothing of that sort. So I guess the only thing I knew was what I didn't want to do, and that was to be stuck in a boring job. And, by boring, I mean, like my dad works at a bank, and he's always been an absolute workaholic. He's always worked long hours. It looks like he's doing all the work there is to do in that building. That's how it feels. So,
sincere, committed. The generation was like that.
Exactly, and my mom's an engineer. She worked for the PWD, so I've watched both of them sort of work really hard every day of their lives, and I've always been terrified at the thought that if I get a job like that, and I've seen both of them at their workplaces, and what I know of their jobs and the nature of it, I know, and I've always thought if I ever end up in a job like that, I'm possibly not going to be happy, and I don't know how they're doing it. So the scariest thing for me was to end up having to do something that I did not find exciting enough for the rest of my life. I had no idea what I wanted to do. But then I quit engineering college after a year. Then I went to Madras Christian College, and I was doing BSc in physics. And yeah, not particularly interested in the subject. It was just the only, either physics or English would have been the only course that I could have gotten into MCC for. And I found theatre there. A professional theatre group from Chennai was in college one day auditioning for their play. Went in for an audition because I'd done a couple of plays in school and had fun doing it. So yeah, we started rehearsals for that play, and I realized I was very happy, working it. The energy in the room is always electric, and that I was craving for every day. And every day I was going in for rehearsals. If my scenes were to be rehearsed that day, I used to keep thinking, okay, I have to do it better today than I did it the last day. And I hadn't felt that way about anything else that I was doing at that point. So I thought, okay, maybe if I pick this up, and specifically theatre, I wasn't even thinking about films at that point. I just thought if I continue doing this, I'd be happy because, there'd be something to work towards.
Many superstars have a run for their money now, thanks to OTT platforms. And we have people like Roshan Matthews blooming, getting offers left, right, and center. So you interestingly made your debut on OTT with Tan Lines 2016, and then jumped to films. So why didn't you really take us through exactly what your imagination is, while you took up this OTT project?
I used to audition for ads or web series or music videos or corporate videos or films, whatever was available, whatever I could audition for, I used to, and that's how this particular web series worked out. Now, so I went into it purely with the intent of, making money. And when you're auditioning and when you're trying to find work to sustain, you don't have the luxury to pick and choose your projects or find what you're looking for. You just do what you get. I was just very fortunate that Tan Lines happened to be a really fun, exciting project with a bunch of, extremely talented people. Roshit, who went on to do Patal Lok and Pari, was the director of Tan Lines. And more than anything, and it was a lot of fun to shoot. I got to work with a great team. The energy was amazing. But more than any of that, I think Tan Lines is what got me to sort of enjoy working in front of the camera. Until then, everything I had done, and that was very little camera work, just like a couple of ads here and there, mostly just that. But Tan Lines is where I realized, hey, this thing that I like doing on stage, I can modulate it for the camera, and it is a very interesting thing to experiment with. It was a lot of fun sort of figuring the medium out. So I wanted to do more of it. So when I ended up in Kerala, a few months later, I started auditioning for whatever films I could over here. And that's how Malayalam films sort of started off. So yeah, Tan Lines really got me to be excited about the medium more than anything.
You've already had 3 releases on OTT. Choked, See You Soon, Kriti now. So, according to you, can really theatres now survive this juggernaut that you see in the form of OTT platforms?
Yeah, I don't think theaters are really fighting for survival or anything. Obviously, it's going to be very difficult. It is a very difficult phase that theaters are passing through. But I don't think it's the sort of thing that will become extinct.
People still enjoy the theatre experience. Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Just like theatre, the art form has come through all of this and has always been struggling, but it has always managed to survive. So, very similarly, it is going to a movie theater, watching a film together with like a whole crowd of strangers. All of that is on some level also part of our culture. It is like how many other experiences like that do you have when you're living in a city? How many other experiences or emotional journeys do you go through together with a bunch of people, or like 500 or 1,000 people that you don't know at all? It is quite surreal.
And we see in the South, you have people, this kind of frenzy that they have about their stars that they idolize, and they love to go to theatres, whistle, shout, yell. It's just it's an outing for them. And they actually, I know people in Tamil Nadu literally save up only to go every week for their favorite stars release or whatever. Film is the biggest deal in the South mostly. And do you see the same in Malayalam also, Malayalam film industry?
Yeah, definitely. See, for us, like, and any festival like Onam or Eid or Christmas, nothing's complete without watching a big movie at a theater, fighting for those tickets. That was a huge part of my childhood. Waking up early, going and queuing up in front of a theater on release day, just so you can get a booking. Back when like online booking wasn't a thing.
You've acted with stalwarts already within the industry. Tell us something about Kriti, Prithviraj, your role there. Very exciting to see this unit come together again. Such fabulous actors. Go on.
Yeah, so I had worked Pude with Prithvi, and I came out of that film wanting to work more with him. He's really inspiring to work with. So I was waiting for a project to come along, and Kriti came very unexpectedly, and it was a fabulous script, very exciting for what it is, and also because of the way it's structured. All these characters are sort of together in the whole journey. So I immediately knew that whoever the other actors are, if they're a fun bunch, then it's going to be really, it's going to be a great experience making this movie.
Are you from here?
Just visiting. It's my last night actually.
That's so many moments.
एक रात में पूरी जिंदगी जी सकते हैं.
Try करते हैं.
हर पल जी ले तू अभी, हर लम्हा है जिंदगी.
Magic in your eyes, there's magic in the air.
तो कैसी रही जिंदगी?
Every moment was magic.
There's magic
Make every moment a magic moment.
मुझे जॉब छोड़ा फिर भी सो कूल.
ब्रो, नए चैलेंजेस नए मौके लाते हैं.
अच्छा.
सीरियसली राहुल, मेरा पूरा घर नाउ इट्स एन ऑनलाइन रिटेल स्टोर. देख.
वाओ. लेकिन पैसे?
कुछ साल पहले दिवाली बोनस को इन्वेस्ट किया था.
और अब तो है LIC का यूलिप प्लान निवेश प्लस. एक बार इन्वेस्ट करो, इंश्योरेंस से सुरक्षा का लाभ और मार्केट की बढ़त का फायदा दोनों पाओ.
वन सेक राहुल.
मैडम, यू आर डबल कूल.
2020 has been your year with 3 big releases in
Yeah, I mean, I was very lucky to be part of these projects which were being put together, and it's not like any of it was planned or expected. It all just happened.
Since Kriti is your latest release, what's the one takeaway from the film? What according to you is for the audience to watch out for? Just a small teaser.
See, I think about Kriti, what really excited me is has always been the fact that it is a very entertaining commercial action thriller, the film, but it does not come without its layers. So everything that happens in the film happens for a great, pertinent, relevant reason. Everything that all the events sort of happen very organically, and what you see on the outside, while it is as entertaining as it is, or I hope that it is, there's also a fight within, or a lot of questioning happening within for all of these characters, which I think makes that sort of layering is what makes Kurdi an exciting project for me.
Be it Muthon, Jallikattu, Joji. So what really is in the air in Kerala that filmmakers here think out of the box, and they're so often appreciated beyond Indian borders as well? You have international recognition coming in for Malayalam cinema.
Yeah. See, I've been hearing this a lot in the recent past. I've also found myself very often in situations where I feel like I'm taking credit for a lot of other people's work. But I am very glad that this is the time when I'm getting to work here, getting to work with these people. And for me, the way I look at it, I think one really important reason for what is happening here to be happening is that the audience here is very receptive. They appreciate quality, quality films. They are up for an experiment. They give you a shot no matter what. You don't have to have a formula in place. As long as you make a good movie, you still stand a chance of doing well at the theaters, or right now on an OTT platform.
You know what's amazing? What I notice is, I'm half from Kerala myself. What I notice is that unlike other film industries, you don't see the Kerala industry really running after commercial spicy cinemas, or just the typical ones that you see across industries. They're mostly based on storylines, on emotions. The actor can look, however, as real, the better it is.
Yeah.
Right?
Those are some of the.
I somehow feel perfection is not allowed in Malayalam cinema. You got to have those flaws for them to really hook on to that film.
Yeah, because I feel like they're striving for a different understanding of perfection. No, it's not as superficial as that, is what I felt at least. And that's great.
Well, that gives us also great actors. That's where, talents grow and blossom. You shot a Tamil film as well now, Cobra. Do you aspire to do a major film in different industries as well? Of course, as an actor, you always want to transcend borders, but how keen were you on Tamil industry?
No, I mean, so Tamil is a language that I am comfortable with. I'm not as fluent with it as, say, English or Hindi or Malayalam. But I can, it is accessible to me. So again, as far as it's a language that's accessible to me, or a character that I can play convincingly, I really want to, and I really would love to enjoy working in as many different environments as possible. So I've never really seen very clear boundaries between industries or anything, because I sort of feel like stories are universal if they're told well enough.
So is it really easier than ever now at this moment to do multiple languages? Has OTT in fact made that more possible and a smoother process?
I mean, because our films are being watched by a much wider audience, like every Malayalam film is sort of now, as long as it comes on a platform like an Amazon Prime or any platform that is popular through the country, I think our films are sort of a pan-Indian, accessible to a pan-Indian audience, being watched by a lot of people. So because of that, there is a sense of familiarity that comes. People know us, know our work, and I'm not just talking about actors here. People know filmmakers and technicians in Malayalam as well by their name or by projects that they worked on. So that, I guess, definitely helps.
Now, you've also done Choked with Anurag Kashyap, Darlings with Alia Bhatt. What's the biggest difference between working in the Malayalam film industry and now in Bollywood, Hindi?
This is a question I've been asked a lot of times, and I've always struggled to find an answer, purely because so I've only done these 2 films in Hindi, which is an extremely tiny number of films to have done to have this sort of perspective. And also Choked and Darlings were 2 completely different experiences for me. While Choked was more like a Malayalam film, in many ways. This, like how I felt shooting it was very similar to how I felt shooting a couple of films here. And Darlings was entirely different. It didn't feel like anything that I had done before. So I guess it is more of a project to project sort of thing. It's not really that much about the industry, or maybe that's just the understanding that I have right now.
All right. Now we know that it's been 16 months of the pandemic. It's been quite a tough time for you, for us, all of us. But since you're the man in the spotlight, what's the good news from your personal or professional life that never really fails to make you smile, give you that hope? Give us a small story behind it.
See, a couple of things that I've already said. I love it when a film that I had a good experience making is received well by the audience. And by received well, I don't even mean that it's praises all around for the film. As long as the film sort of gets the attention that it deserves, or is spoken about, or is discussed, or is does something to someone, basically, that gives me a lot of joy. Again, that's also something I find difficult to let in. It has to be a conscious effort to even take that in. You need to
pat yourself on the back for coming this far. You've recently wrapped up with Darlings. Tell us something about it. We're excited. Alia Bhatt, what not? Go on.
Yeah, again, so that was a completely different experience for me, and that's sort of what I was looking for in a way. I just wanted to do something in an environment that was nothing like what I was beginning to get comfortable with here. And even here, it's not like every movie is the same, but yeah, this was a completely different setting, different way of working. It was a much bigger project than anything I've been part of before. Alia, Shefali and Vijay are three actors whose work I find I really admire, and I find all three of them very exciting. And it was a very, very exciting part for me in that sense, that I got to play with all three of them a lot. And Alia is great to watch. She's just like, she comes in so prepared with what she has to do. I mean, I don't know if she sits and prepares for it, or if it's just something that she has achieved over the years. But she's so sure, and that level of conviction in what she does is great to watch, and obviously a lot of fun to play with when you're doing scenes.
We're eager to watch out for that. But here's some questions I'm going to fire right at you. Speaking of co-stars here, describe these co-stars I'm going to mention in a sentence, all right? Fahad Fasil, let's start with him.
Always strives for the best possible way of doing the scene.
Okay, Vikram?
Most humble person I've come across.
Alia Bhatt?
Most professional, most precise.
And Prithvi Raj, your favorite?
Yeah, most driven and extremely inspiring to be around.
All right. So speaking of the shows that you binged
on. The last few, Scam 1992, binged, loved. Mayor of Easttown, this show called Kidding on HBO. Then Fleabag, Chernobyl. Yeah, there are a few.
Nice. Good choice. Yeah. I like Fleabag. Your first celebrity. That was so fun. Quirky, Your first celebrity crush.
First celebrity crush. I don't know. There's so many from when I was young. Urvashi from Spadiga.
Now we'll see. Now when you go, what about now? Celebrity crush now.
Celebrity crush now is a little confusing. I'll just stick to when I was a child. Urvashi from Spadigam, I think, is a great one.
Okay, who's the last person you stalked on Instagram then?
I don't know if I can. So I won't reveal the name, but a collector of posters and general movie-related memorabilia. I mean, it's not really stalking. It is a public page, so you are.
God, Roshan. Okay, the most overrated film or show that you thought?
It's overrated. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there are many, but nothing's really coming to mind right now.
Okay, so tell me, if you aren't acting, then what do you like? What do you do?
I'm always busy, is what I've been doing. All of my friends would tell you the same thing. I am I'm always busy with something or the other. They don't really know what, and sometimes I don't really know what either. But it's very difficult to sort of just find me lying around chilling as much as I'd like to.
And if I may ask your guilty pleasure?
Guilty pleasure.
Come on, finally don't be diplomatic. Go for it.
No, I just like excessive cleaning count, because I feel adequately stupid,
It
but
counts.
sometimes
It totally counts. It's totally an issue.
yeah. And like I go after it and I'm thinking, this is so pointless. It's going to be back to how it was in like half an hour. So yeah.
No, but trust me, cleaning something is like literally cleaning your soul. It
Oh,
can get
thanks.
that
I'm very
addictive.
glad you get it. Very
It
glad
is.
you
I
get
told you, it is. It can be an issue. All right, finally, as I wrap here, Roshan, what's your magic moment? Something that really makes you smile or wonder?
I think when someone I have a lot of respect for likes the work I've done or something that I've been part of, that makes me happier than most things. There are some of those memorable moments. The first time I got a call from Anurag sir after he watched the edit of Muthon, like those just stay, and it's sort of like a happy place that I can go back to even on a really tough day, thinking, oh, so that did happen, which means there is something to just rediscover. Yeah.
Awesome. It was so fun talking to you, Roshan Matthews. It was really, so refreshing to know that there's such a simple, humble, sweet and a very disciplined person right behind all those fantastic roles that we've seen on television. I hope you embody many more and you become the superstar that we'd like to see you in the days to come. All the best for your future endeavors.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Are you from here?
Just visiting. It's my last night actually.
That's so many moments.
एक रात में पूरी जिंदगी जी सकते हैं.
Try करते हैं.
हर पल जी ले तू अभी, हर लम्हा है जिंदगी.
Magic in your eyes, there's magic in the air.
तो कैसी रही जिंदगी?
Every moment was magic.
There's magic
Make every moment a magic moment.
My journey of insurance and investments began at the same time when I invested in LIC SEEP. In this fast-moving world, SEEP can balance your funds with security and growth. SEEP will take care of the ups and downs of the market and will give you fruitful results so that you enjoy the ride. And when SEEP is with you, you can soar high.
LIC's unit-linked insurance plan SEEP offers savings and protection so that you can soar high in your life. LIC, हर पल आपके साथ.
And before we begin our next session, I just want to put it out there. Mental health is real. Unmute yourself, speak up. Your mind is just like any other part of your body. If you need help, go out there and take help from a qualified mental health care practitioner. We're going to be addressing a very important issue that is impacting just about everybody in the post-COVID world. You're not alone. It's the world over, this is a phenomenon. Stress, feelings of isolation, tips on how to cope with new realities. Coming up are Dr. Upasna Chadha, psychologist, Delhi, and Dr. Manoj Sharma, social media therapist and psychiatrist from NIMHANS, on how to cope with 18 months away from friends and school and college. Hello and welcome to Mindrocks Youth Summit. I'm Chaiti Narula. Today we're going to be discussing a very important topic. It's a topic which is pertinent to children, teenagers and parents across the board after the COVID pandemic and the entire world saw the lockdown. How to cope with 18 months of being away from friends, from school, from colleges. Joining us today to give us a perspective and help you out with this is Dr. Upasana Chadda. She's the Director of Mindscape Center of Counseling. A very warm welcome, Dr. Upasana. What a pleasure to be talking to you today on this subject.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure too.
We also have Dr. Manoj Sharma, Professor of Clinical Psychology at NIMHANS. He's joining us to discuss this very topic and guide our viewers through it. A very warm welcome, Dr. Manoj, as well.
Thank you.
So let's begin with Dr. Upasana first. Dr. Upasana, I would like to understand from you first and paint us the lay of the land in terms of what children are going through today, what teenagers are going through today, and how parents are having to cope with it as well, because a lot of this also comes from the parents' anxieties being transferred upon the children.
Absolutely correct. So what's happening after this pandemic, and like you rightly said, we are 18 months into it. So all of us, I believe, the kids, very young kids, the teenagers, the parents, the kids who had to now go to college are going through a very, very tough time. So if I start with the younger lot, let's say all those kids who were like 2 years old, 3 years old, and they had to start school. It was the first time for them that they had to venture out of their homes and create social interactions, understand the, how the world functions.
Yeah.
And that stopped for them. And this social interaction has been so extremely important for their lifelong development that it has come to a halt. And these 18 months have been very, very crucial for these kids. So a lot of kids starting nursery, KG, their idea of school is what? An online class like this. Or so many of them have not even started all of these online classes also.
Yeah.
So their intellectual development, their social development of interacting with peers, I think that's something that we are even facing with these online classes, because we are just doing the syllabus. There's no peer-to-peer interaction.
So the early child development patterns are getting impacted because of the lockdown and because of being away and not being able to cope.
Being a part of.
And are you seeing a lot of anxiety amongst the older lot as well?
Absolutely.
What are the common symptoms that you would say that the parents need to recognize that the children are feeling stressed, anxious, so that they have a way to cope with it?
So there's a lot of loneliness that these kids are now seeing. All of these adolescents, teenagers.
Yes.
A lot of loneliness is leading to a lot of depressive and anxious symptoms. So a lot of kids are experiencing a lot of anxiety. A lot of parents are calling up and telling us that our kids have become very, very conscious of a little thing that they experience in their body. So we say something as health anxiety. These young kids have experienced so much of health anxiety that something happens, a mosquito bite, they kind of make it a huge deal out of it.
And Dr. Manoj, I just want to put it out there that, it is not unnatural for the children to face these kind of fears. So some children, of course, are facing fears of the loss of a parent as well, because maybe they have lost one parent and they're now fearing all of a sudden that they might lose the other parent as well. And that's absolutely very natural for children to face a whole varied umbrella of emotions, of fear, the fear of unknown as well. Suddenly something just hit them what they're not used to. It's a new normal that they're taking time to adapt themselves to. I just want to tell you to explain to our viewers how this is normal and how it is the parents that need to fix themselves to be able to help their children out.
I think because of restrictions and because of change in the lifestyle, as well as the way the environmental things have affected the family communication, as well as family other dynamics, has affected not only the children's but the other members of the families also. And definitely there is a anxiety among children who either had seen parents have undergone under any kind of illnesses or they have lost their parents. So somewhere what we generally emphasize is the need for communication.
Dr. Upasana, I want to know what are the kind of communication that the parents need to have with children, the children need to have with parents, and more importantly, the parents need to have with their own counselors and mental health experts, because they are facing a lot of uncertainty too.
As a parent, you keep checking in with your kid. Every night while you're going off to bed, retiring for the day, just check in with them. How was their day? What was the fun part of the day? What did not go right for you? So inquiring, questioning, sharing your own day, your own experiences. You know how as a mother, oh, I was very stressed today.
And Dr. Upasana, when it comes to teens, when it comes to children who are in the age bracket of say 16, 17, 18, they're anyway going through a whole host of changes themselves, and regardless of the pandemic, there is a certain level of counseling that they do end up requiring.
So I think as a parent, what will encourage parents also is that knowing that your child going to a counselor doesn't mean you're not good enough a parent and a child cannot come and speak to you because you're dealing with your own struggles. So it's all right if your child goes there. And like you very rightly pointed out, teenagers are anyhow going through so much of a turmoil of their own transition. Above it, a pandemic, which has kind of changed, which has changed so much in their lives.
Right.
So it's all the more important to take care of their emotions such that जो impact हमें दिख रहा है ना, loneliness, anxiety and depression, it doesn't remain long lasting if we get timely intervention.
Here today we're talking about loneliness, as Upasana said. Every kid today, every teenager today, every adult as well is feeling loneliness, being confined into their houses as well. What do you do then? You either make your Zoom calls, you either watch your Netflix, you either start, playing on your social media, you start doom scrolling as well. Now, at some point, there has to be a healthy balance in terms of when to stop.
So basically, as we discussed, I think communications remains the milestone if we have to even work on technology use. And communication can also happen through engagement with children in various leisure activities, because that we are missing. I think leisure activities has become now digital leisure activities, whether it is for children, whether it's adolescent or parents also. Everybody has changed the definition of leisure. It has become digital. So we have to be conscious whether we can again bring a balance of offline leisure activities with some online leisure activities. Second thing, all of us have to practice digital hygiene also. Digital hygiene, when I say, the parent should become a good role model.
You start detoxing as a parent, your child will follow. You start and start reading a book, your child will follow. Absolutely, they'll follow. There's no way they'll not follow.
But there are so many out there in the country who still think it's a taboo. Psychiatrist के पास क्यों जाना है? आप पागल थोड़ी हो गए हो? That is still the norm in this country, in a large part of the country.
It still is. And one of the things here that we always discuss is mental health budget, our government, our policies. They'll only need to probably propagate the way the other healthcare industry is being propagated, that prevention is better than cure.
Yeah.
So similarly, you don't have to have a full-blown mental disorder to reach to a therapist or a psychiatrist. So let's say psychiatrist, yes, medication, full-blown mental health illness. But a mental health professional wherein you'll be talking, a counselor where there's only going to be talk therapy, it's prevention. It's you're noticing something's not right. It's noticing that you don't feel like working. It's noticing that your child doesn't want to study. It's noticing that he's not able to do the things he was able to do earlier. Right? So when you notice that, when you see those telltale signs, it's important that we kind of prevent it. So the more it keeps coming in the mainstream media and the more people start looking at it as a normal aspect of life, it's like, again, I will say, you go to a salon for fixing your hair and everything, right? Similarly, you go to a counselor for fixing your thoughts, not even fixing your thoughts, but just getting them more coherent.
Are you from here?
Just visiting. It's my last night actually.
That's so many moments.
एक रात में पूरी जिंदगी जी सकते हैं.
Try करते हैं.
हर पल जी ले तू अभी, हर लम्हा है जिंदगी.
Magic in your eyes, there's magic in the air.
तो कैसी रही जिंदगी?
Every moment was magic.
There's magic
Make every moment a magic moment.
मुझे जॉब छोड़ा फिर भी सो कूल.
ब्रो, नए चैलेंजेस नए मौके लाते हैं.
अच्छा.
सीरियसली राहुल, मेरा पूरा घर नाउ इट्स एन ऑनलाइन रिटेल स्टोर. देख.
वाओ. लेकिन पैसे?
कुछ साल पहले दिवाली बोनस को इन्वेस्ट किया था।
और अब तो है LIC का यूलिप प्लान निवेश प्लस। एक बार इन्वेस्ट करो, इंश्योरेंस से सुरक्षा का लाभ और मार्केट की बढ़त का फायदा दोनों पाओ।
1 sec राहुल।
मैडम, यू आर डबल कूल।
Dr. Manoj, what are the steps that parents can take first for de-addiction and set an example for their children as well?
I think first parents also have to acknowledge that they have excessive use of technology. So once the acknowledgement comes, it will lead to action which they can bring in terms of lifestyle changes, they can bring in terms of controlling their technology use whenever they are in the home setting or whenever they are with the young children or with the adolescents.
An addiction is an addiction, whether it is to drugs, whether it is to alcohol, or whether it is to social media. That dependency is something that people are struggling to let go of.
3 things they should keep in mind. First is preoccupation or the continuous desire to either remain engaged with technology or with substance use. If that is happening, that will also have a significant impact on his or her lifestyle. Second thing they have to realize is, do they have control or are they losing their control for technology or for substance use? If that is happening, if the loss of control is there, it will take away a lot of their time from the productive hours and they will spend either in technology or in substance use. Third would be continuous indulgence in technology use or substance use despite knowing the consequences. They know their physical health is suffering, they know their academics are suffering, they know that family relationships are taking a back seat, but still they are persisting with the use. So if these 3 things are coming up in their lifestyle, that's a right signal to seek help.
Gaming has become another addiction, Dr. Manoj, and I've seen a lot of adolescents falling prey to this gaming industry, and they just can't let go of, because then it gets very competitive. Then you want to go to the next level, and now globally there are players who are coming and joining, and they get very competitive about it. How harmful can that be to a child or an adolescent's mental health, and what can parents really do? Because Upasana said the minute you take away and when there is violence, it is a sign of withdrawal symptom.
And I think the initial part which we are discussing is that cyber literacy should happen in the family context. As a young child, parents should educate the child for do's and don'ts for use of technology. As I think if World Health Organization also made some recommendation that how much the technology use should be there for a 6-year-old child and how much the physical activity should be there for a young children. I think that part where parent can play a major role. Second thing, because now gaming has become a mental health condition, and somewhere gaming is itself is a problem, but sometimes gaming is also fulfilling certain psychological needs in the child's behavior also, because child sometimes need affiliation, because nowadays because there is a restriction of getting connected with others in the offline context, so they get connected with the friends in the gaming platforms. They get a lot of acknowledgement, and they get a lot of rewards and other things which they feel very difficult to get in the offline context. So that's why again the role of family become very much important, that if they acknowledge child success, if they engage with the child in more maximum time, most of their needs which they are getting fulfilled in gaming platform will get fulfilled in the family context, and they will not feel a need to spend good amount of time on the gaming platform. Talk to the child. If their convocation doesn't work, seek any mental health professional.
How would you guide parents in terms of not being that strict also with their children? Because at the end of the day, they are also feeling that level of anxiety, and they need to vent their energies out somewhere too.
So that monitoring is important, wherein you see that those signs, wherein you're talking about the irritability is coming from because you're experiencing loneliness. If you're connected to a friend talking, you are ending that call with, a better feeling.
Yeah.
So your strictness and your rules needs to come in if you're able to monitor the use of that technology, what my child is using it for. And I think having a proper guideline for that as a parent is important. Forming that guidelines, so this much amount of time you use for this much you use for that. And I think a lot of our digital devices today do have a monitor on how much is being used for what. How much is it that you're using for your education, reading books on your tab? How much you're using for social media? How much you're using for something else? So that monitoring, I think the parents can do, and then have a very, rather than being strict, you can have a very nice style of approaching it forward, that this much for this time, your social media interaction for this time, your educational purpose used for tablets this time, because everything is happening on one device only now.
That's very interesting to note. Dr. Manoj, on a winding note, I would like a lot of youth are tuning in. They're watching what you're saying. They're listening into what you're saying. And I'm sure they're understanding what you're saying as well. What would you like to tell the youth today?
Definitely, they have to be conscious about their uses pattern. I think whether it is for substance use or whether it is for technology use. Second thing, they have to realize that is it affecting my lifestyle? If that is there, that's become second signs for seeking help. Third, whether they can work at individual level, because some children have their resilience, some children have their own coping strategies, and they can work also. So, but in case if they feel that their strategies are not working, so they should discuss with the family context, or nowadays a lot of online platforms helps are coming up from even from government sector or even from public health sectors where confidentiality and they can seek help. We do also get sometimes calls from different state, and the child as young as 17 years send me the mail that my parents doesn't know about my issues, but I want to talk to you. So I think if that sort of, I appreciate that sort of awareness, and I generally get connected to those young children immediately so that I can help them out, whatever their concerns are.
Sometimes they just fear going and talking to a counselor who their parents know, because they think it's going to get leaked. My problems are going to go to my parents, and then there's going to be an issue at home. So that confidentiality becomes very important when you want to go seek counseling for cognitive behavioral therapy, de-addiction, or whatever it is. If you could tell the youth today about how confidential all of this is.
So first things first, I will say that we don't call the people who come to us patients, we call them clients. Patient is a person who has a disorder, right? So it's a client. Is not a patient, right? So the stigma of being a patient of a mental health issue, there it is. So the language is very important. So we call them as our clients, and they're not our patients at all. And confidentiality is a huge ethical, responsibility that we as counselors, as psychotherapists, mental health professionals need to abide by. And with young kids, or with anyone for that matter, this confidentiality has a clause when we know that absolutely everything that you talk stays very confidential here. A lot of parents come up and say, what did they speak? Tell me, I want to know what they were saying. So we tell the parent that you want to know what's going on, you come in the session with us. We'll talk to you with your child in front of us.
There's no reason for your client who's young, a teenager, to fear that anything that he or she is facing, not being able to discuss with their children, is ever going to get leaked to the parents. It's always going to remain between me and my counselor, and I will get the help that I require, because these are things that I'm not being able to talk to my parents about.
Absolutely. And I want to add something here. Yeah. It's also important for the child to also know that there are some things that an adult needs to know. So like I said, this confidentiality also has certain clauses, right? So in case if the child has a risk of being harmed or is going to harm someone, that time the confidentiality clause doesn't hold true.
Are the parents okay with leaving their kids to the counselors, letting them deal, or do they tend to end up getting nosy? And what do you tell parents who tend to end up getting nosy, that I'm dealing with the child, leave me alone?
I think parents are always remain quite anxious about whatever is happening in the counseling sessions and all.
Of course, and they will be always.
Always. So I think, but the psychotherapy to start or to build up a rapport with the young child, definitely we have to ensure that this is a safe platform for them to discuss, to reveal or whatever they have not discussed with the parents or other members of the family, so that he or she can be helped in the best manner. So if that sort of message go from the therapist, definitely child feel very much comfortable to discuss his or her issues also. But along with that, we have to give psychoeducative sessions to the parents also, help them to work on their distress, help them to work on their other issues which they are worried about the young child, so that they can feel better, relax. And sometimes we have to teach even relaxation exercise to the parents also, because so that they can relax and they can take a more better look about the child's problems and other issues.
Right. And Dr. Upasna, I would just like to know from you a little about altruism, how it helps all of us in times like this, because everyone looks at their problems in isolation through this magnification, just to understand that all of us are going through this.
So like you very rightly mentioned, remember, during the second wave that did hit us all, I saw a lot of young kids also, were encouraged to bring in that support, to bring in whatever they could to provide supplies or groceries to the elderly who did not have a family member and they could not move out. And I believe that act of kindness, that altruism, gives you a sense of purpose, which is so missing from our lives because we don't see a lot of future right now. We don't know when is this going to come to an end. Every time things start getting better, we then start hearing 2 weeks later, cases are rising again. So a lot of lack of hopelessness, there's a lot of lack of hope, this lack of hope when, is taken care by some sense of purpose in those acts of kindness. It kind of gives you that boost. It gives you that self-esteem boost. It makes you feel nice because you've served somebody, and all of that anxiety or all of that fear, you kind of give meaning to your life. That at the end of the day, we are all together. At the end of the day, I was useful to someone, and that makes you feel nice. So you kind of have some hope around it that despite what's happening outside, I'm still there. I exist here because I serve some purpose in life. And I can do that even if I'm restricted in my home through a lot of other channels. So kids have used this time, the second wave, and their social media in a very good way also by connecting everybody, by, sharing, resharing. Somebody needed bed, somebody needed oxygen, somebody needed food.
Yes.
I saw a lot of young kids doing that, making groups, forming support groups, making sure kaun kahan rehta hai, wo tum jao, usko udhar dawai chahiye, that uncle ji lives alone, go do that. So social media was also used very nicely in a positive way.
And that's such a beautiful way to end this session today, Dr. Upasna, Dr. Manoj. We're all in this together. Altruism works. In case you see some telltale signs of anxiety within yourself, within your family members, go ahead, unmute yourself, speak normally about mental health. Your brain is like any other part of your body. Thank you very much for your time. Dr. Upasna, Dr. Manoj, it was a fantastic session.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Are you from here?
Just visiting. It's my last night actually.
That's so many moments.
एक रात में पूरी जिंदगी जी सकते हैं.
Try करते हैं.
हर पल जी ले तू अभी, हर लम्हा है जिंदगी.
Magic in your eyes, there's magic in the air.
तो कैसी रही जिंदगी?
Every moment was magic.
There's magic
Make every moment a magic moment.
My journey of insurance and investments began at the same time when I invested in LIC SEEP. In this fast-moving world, SEEP can balance your funds with security and growth. SEEP will take care of the ups and downs of the market and will give you fruitful results so that you enjoy the ride. And when SEEP is with you, you can soar high.
LIC's unit-linked insurance plan SEEP offers savings and protection so that you can soar high in your life. LIC, हर पल आपके साथ.
And this is a blue-eyed boy you're perhaps waiting for. So my colleagues and I, Nabila and Nandini and me, decided to catch up with somebody very interesting. It's our final session today. We have actor Arjun Kapoor on completing a decade in films and teach you about body positivity. Hello and welcome. I'm Chaiti Narula. We're being joined by Arjun Kapoor today. Inspirational, he's hilarious with a no-holds-barred sense of humor, a doer. He's a go-getter and a total achiever. His personal journey is really an inspiration for people across all age groups all over the world, not just in India. Someone who's battled body shaming and now propagates body positivity. His tips, his tricks, and the way he conducts his life are a lesson for the youth of the country. Let's welcome the super talented icon for the youth, Arjun Kapoor. Arjun, welcome so much to Mindrocks. Thank you for taking time out and joining us.
It's one of the nicest introductions
Can we
I've
whistle?
heard for myself.
You can whistle.
No, you can.
Nabila wants to whistle.
Look how hot you're looking.
Thank you.
Okay, also joining us are Nandini Bhalla, editor Cosmopolitan and digital editor Harper's Bazaar, and also my colleague Nabila, who's already whistled for you, Arjun.
Thank you, Nabila. And Nandini and me recently had a very heartfelt conversation because I was on the cover of one of her magazines. So it feels like I'm in good company today. And with your introduction, I think I want to screen grab this and keep. I'm the ladies' man again. I'm really happy.
Absolutely you are. Absolutely you are. So Arjun, you've just completed 10 years in the film industry. What have been some of the greatest takeaways from the decade for you?
Well, as a thespian now that I can officially call myself that. What's my greatest takeaway? Yeah, just suno sabki karo apni. That's always been my motto, and that seems to be more and more relevant even today.
You've become fitter. This is a journey, and I know that you've been through this journey over the years, and you've evolved in how. I'd like to hear about this journey from you. Speaking of body positivity,
actually, all of us want to because we all
we're all in the running, right?
Yeah.
Constantly trying to
constantly struggling with
keep our weight in check.
Well, all three of you beautiful ladies look way better than me, and all you three are having a better hair day than I ever can.
Please, but, your hair is what made me whistle.
No. Oh, it wasn't me. It wasn't my smile. It wasn't my face. It wasn't just me.
Okay, it's a package, all right.
So मेरा जो wig है ना, मैं आपको निकाल के भेज दूँ.
That we know your hair. It comes in your DNA.
Okay, no,
Anil Kapoor ka
tell us your journey about this whole losing weight and becoming fit, because I think all of us somewhere want to hear it because we want to definitely embrace it as a part of our lifestyle.
So I'll tell you what, I've done it once before, right? I lost 45-50 kgs before I started Ishaq Zadeh. It took me 4 years, and I was very perseverant and diligent then, and I was patient. And then obviously over a course of my career, I was looking good, I was doing well, and then there was a point where my health issues caught up with me, and obviously life catches up with you. You're running, वो hamster होता है ना जो भागता रहता है, you don't know where you're going, you're on a treadmill. And I just kept going, and you don't realize how much you've tortured yourself. Some people are capable of sprinting, some are people who prefer walking, and I kind of got caught up trying to sprint when I maybe am better at walking, which is what had made me successfully tackle my obesity. So now when the lockdown happened, I realized that I need to do what's right for me rather than follow the fad.
Eventually, you need some kind of motivation. Was there anything that really motivated you?
My profession was always my motivation, and I know what you're trying to hint towards. And that always helps when you have people around you. When you have the right people around you, they inspire you in the right ways. But eventually, how much can he or she inspire you? They can talk to you, they can communicate with you, but उठ के तो हमें ही जाना पड़ता है.
I'll be taking you back to your teenage years. Tell me, when you were growing up, were you ever bullied? Did you ever feel conscious? Did you like some girls in the class who were not really looking at you? What was that like? Because, kids can be very, very conscious of how they look.
Yeah.
You have crushes and you like someone. And did you ever feel really bad? Were you ever told anything that kind of made you feel bad?
So, okay. I remember being very okay with my size. I never quite had any issue with it myself. I was not one of those that was so conscious. I was fine because I used to just embrace how I was. How I reached there, was literally over one summer. I used to never be a fat kid. I had chubby cheeks, which I still do when I smile. But I was
And
a
that's
nice.
very cute.
Thank you, but I was a chubby cheeks wala kid. I was never a fat kid. And then one summer, obviously my parents separating and issues going on, and I took solace in food. And long story short, that kind of led me to changing the way I was living my life, and food gave me solace. So I became okay with the way I looked, because that was what my way of hiding and eating and enjoying and trying to find some happiness in life while there was a lot of sadness around me. So I never felt that anybody could bully me, because this, what you guys call sense of humor, was actually self-defense, because before anybody can take me on, I always had the wit and the gift of the gab to kind of always have something ready to give back. And also, I mean, I had my own sisters in school, so I became everybody's brother. You know, I had Sonam and Riya, and also I was always the protective kind of guy, which seems to follow me around now also.
Was every girl coming and tying you a Rakhi? What was that?
Well, I was a pretty safe guy to tie Rakhi to at that point.
No, but Arjun, I'm glad you mentioned this angle, and I'm sure glad that Nandini brought this in, because this is at the end of the day a lot of youth watching in and gaining inspiration from you today, Arjun. And you speaking these words really goes a long way in really helping them cope with the societal predispositions that we have around us. So if you could just give tips to the youth of the country today on how to deal. There's many others who are dealing with body shaming. They need to be encouraged into embracing their bodies and encourage body positivity. What would you like to tell them today, Arjun?
So I think the problem is, being fit is equated to being thin.
Yeah.
You have to look a certain way to be perceived to be fit. India as a society has issues with color, size, structure. So, like, for example, in my own case, I'm broad built and I'm proud of it. And I have legs which are, say, European, American sized legs. I'm a big structured guy. No other guy in my generation, in my age group, acting with me has the kind of structure I do. So I embrace it positively, saying I'm unique, I'm different, and I'm special. But that does not mean I should be unfit. I should still take care of myself. And today's society has to realize and understand that you cannot put other people down. You have to educate them, make them understand that, boss, you are okay the way you are.
Yeah.
But that does not mean that you can go into a dark hole. You might be slightly overweight. So then try and work towards bettering yourself. Because what is thin?
Yeah.
Thin does not mean that you're fit. I've seen thin people who can barely even walk without getting tired.
No, but doesn't social media really drive you crazy? You have all kinds of perfect figures, bodies.
Of course it does.
And that's also impacting your generation next.
Of course, and that is where somebody like me gets trolled for not being up to society standards, because society has a set of standards created by imagery created over the last 10 years of social media becoming relevant.
Yeah.
Abs in India is so important that when I showed my abs in my first film, I was considered a very thin, young, fit guy. I was 95 kgs in that film.
Bone weight.
No, but and 95 kgs is a lot of weight to carry.
Yeah.
I have never needed to be under 92 kgs. I was 92 kgs in Gunde. But people look at the scale and say, "Arey, isko to 75, 80 hona chahiye. Ye kaise galat weight hai?" But aap equate karte ho abs. Abs nahi hai, to ye banda fit nahi hai. I have lost the most amount of weight walking.
Brilliant.
But nobody will speak to people about being active walking.
Yeah. Is Bollywood really open to, to people of all sizes? We're seeing some of the films coming forward with women there of all sizes. About the men,
that's a pretty good question. I would like to be honest here and say, we do create stereotypes and we take too long to break them. So I don't think we, at a cinematic level, are breaking the stereotypes. I think we are only underlining and reiterating them. And part of the problem is that we were so blindsided in the last 10 years that we didn't realize the repercussion till now.
Yeah.
The last 10 years was celebrating the fact that we've got internet. So if you have it, flaunt it. Now we flaunt it so much that there's excess. And you kind of realize that is not real. So you need to, now people want real stories, real characters, but we are so used to shoving excess down your throat that we also are now taking a backseat and saying, "Acha yaar, all guys don't need to be like that."
Correct.
And I'm part of the problem and the solution.
Yeah, I think he looks absolutely fabulous, and that hair really has to name.
Striking.
What are you going to be naming that hair? I think it deserves its own name.
My main.
Nice one.
Are you from here?
Just visiting. It's my last night actually.
That's so many moments.
एक रात में पूरी जिंदगी जी सकते हैं.
Try करते हैं.
हर पल जी ले तू अभी, हर लम्हा है जिंदगी.
Magic in your eyes, there's magic in the air.
तो कैसी रही जिंदगी?
Every moment was magic.
There's magic
Make every moment a magic moment.
पूजा जॉब छोड़ा फिर भी सो कूल.
ब्रो, नए चैलेंजेस नए मौके लाते हैं.
अच्छा.
सीरियसली राहुल, मेरा पूरा घर नाउ इट्स एन ऑनलाइन रिटेल स्टोर. देख.
वाओ. लेकिन पैसे?
कुछ साल पहले दिवाली बोनस को इन्वेस्ट किया था.
और अब तो है LIC का यूलिप प्लान निवेश प्लस. एक बार इन्वेस्ट करो, इंश्योरेंस से सुरक्षा का लाभ और मार्केट की बढ़त का फायदा दोनों पाओ.
वन सेक राहुल.
मैडम, यू आर डबल कूल.
I'll be going back to the topic of films. Over the last 10 years, what do you think you've done right, wrong?
Talking retrospectively is always easy, Nandini. I think I've done a few right films and I've done a few wrong films. I think that's pretty simple.
That you may have learned along the way to say, you know what, that was something that I shouldn't have done, or I'm glad that I've learned now that this is the way to do things.
I took on too much work to run away from my personal issues of losing my mother, and somewhere that helped. I've done 16 films. I'm on my 16th film right now in the last 9 years, 10 years. I've done a lot of work, but I didn't take out enough time for myself, as in terms of my own mental health and physical health, and my own wholesome health. So, if there's something that I've learned out of it, going ahead, I would like to change that. I think the best part is that I've been able to make a career for myself and be independent financially. I come from a very good family. I am privileged. I am somebody who's been well taken care of. I've had my own struggle and journey, which can't be compared because to each their own.
The pandemic has taught us that everybody can go through stress, anxiety, loneliness and whatnot. So what would you like to tell people today when it comes to taking care of their mental health? Because I guess somewhere that also has a huge impact on your physical health.
Yeah, of course. It has all the impact. If you're not going to be okay up here, it's not going to translate down there. So by all accounts, that makes complete sense. See, the reality is that it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
It's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Every person has moments and beats in their lives, in their life where they go through a lot, and it might retrospectively hit you. So when the lockdown did happen, I was emotionally broken because a lot of things hit me. That was the first time I was able to pause and reflect, and I had a partner I could rely on. I had a sister I could rely on. I had enough support system within the house. Even if I had to break down, and emotionally breaking down for a man is perceived to be "tum mard ho." How can you showcase emotion?
Well, I'm so glad you actually said that.
It's a sign of strength.
It is a sign of strength.
Yeah. So I feel letting go, letting it out, talking about it. Sometimes you have to just let go. You know, it's very difficult, and I see. I cannot give it. I would like to say it and underline it that mental health is a real problem. If it means meditating, if it means going the distance to feel secure enough that you can share your deep, dark inner secrets and fears with a therapist.
Yeah.
It is allowed. That is not something that makes you weaker. It is something that will eventually make you fly.
If you could go back in like time, okay, and you could go back, what would you tell your younger self? What kind of advice would you give to your younger self?
Smile more. And also, I was very sarcastic earlier, which I realized a lot of people don't get. You know, deadpan sarcasm.
Yeah.
So I realized that I can do that with you off camera and you would get it, but on camera, which I realized very early. I mean, just because I didn't come all happy and yay, and I would then I promoted with Ranveer, and I realized Ranveer is only that. So Ranveer is just like. So he told me something really fun. He said, "Yeah, no, people don't know your personality. You have to put yourself out there and make people realize it." I said, "Yeah, fair enough, man. I never thought that I have to. I'm meeting you for the first time. You're going to take back what you're going to take back, right? But I never thought of it as my responsibility to the media that I need to put myself out there in a certain way to soften myself so you can see into me. I always had to keep my guard up because I was like, they'll ask me a question or they'll do something. It was very...
I get it. All right, now to the fun stuff. I think Nandini would be best to give you a small rapid fire quizzer. Nandini, go into it.
All right. Arjun, who was your very first crush?
He's just like, he's thinking. You can't think.
My first crush, like you're saying an actor or you're saying in school.
Crush,
बेचारी उसकी तो शादी हो गई. जो स्कूल में थी उसकी बेचारी की शादी हो गई. अब क्या बोलूं?
अरे एक लड़की को देखा पसंद आ गई वैसे क्रश.
हाँ स्कूल में थी वो. There was a girl called Seema and there was another girl called Nandini. I just took a chance and crushed on both of them at the same time. पर दोनों ने हाँ नहीं बोला था like.
I hope they are hearing today and they'll be regretting it कि हाँ नहीं बोला उस वक्त.
इतना लंबा.
Sorry.
No, I said if they're regretting it today, I would say इतना लंबा relationship कहाँ निभा पाता था बेचारा. They're better off with whoever they are.
What is the ultimate secret to getting over a breakup?
Take a deep breath.
I don't know. I think just you have to go through the process. There is no ultimate secret. You just have to accept that there is a process, and perhaps indulging yourself with work. Work can be quite therapeutic, at least I have noticed. But don't hide behind it. Use it to feel better about yourself. But there's no quick fix for a breakup. If you genuinely love someone, then you're going to feel the emotion and feel it. It's okay.
True.
Listen to those sad songs. Eat that tub of ice cream. Then go work out the next day. don't let it sit.
He's like, there's a clause there. Go work out the next day.
Yeah. If your body type is like,
what is the last lie that you told?
छोटे-छोटे lies होते हैं कभी-कभी दिन में. I think जैसे when I'm feeling lazy, sometimes I'll cancel the meeting saying, "Can we do it tomorrow? I'm a bit caught up." That's perhaps.
But you're sitting and watching Netflix at home.
Yeah. Perhaps. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oops.
He's saying yeah.
Over to the rest of you.
So I want to ask.
Actually, I would just be sleeping late. That's the thing. I always try and schedule things in the morning. And then क्या होता है ना, मैं मॉर्निंग उठने का आजकल शूटिंग थोड़ी कम हो रही है और पैंडेमिक चल रहा था तो अभी आदत हो गई थोड़ा आराम से उठो.
No, but are you really a late riser?
I sleep late and I rise whenever I feel like. तो मैं अपनी मर्जी का मालिक हूँ उठने के चक्कर में. तो मैं फिर वो रात को 12-1 बजे कई बार मैसेज कर दूंगा, अरे यार मेरा कुछ काम निकला है या मेरा ये है या मेरा वो है. My trainers now caught me out on it when I keep telling him, let's train at 8 o'clock. He's like, you're not going to wake up, so I'm just going to come at 11. It's better. I'm like, yeah, that actually makes sense. So,
yeah.
तो काफी बार इन चीजों में मैं झूठ बोलता हूँ.
So Nabs and I have come up with a very quick rapid fire question for you as well. Now that Nandini is done with her question, my first question is Bollywood films or Hollywood films for you? What do you like?
Bollywood, yeah, Bollywood. I mean, I love Hollywood, but Bollywood के बिना there is nothing.
Nabila?
I don't know, food maybe. Food, घर का खाना, or for you fine dining? What's your preference?
घर का खाना.
Cupcakes or sugar-free desserts?
These days, neither.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay, so shirtless on a treadmill or shirtless doing dumbbells?
Shirtless regardless.
Shirtless is how I roam around. If this was not on, I sit around my house shirtless only most of the time. So shirtless regardless.
So who's the last person you stalked on Instagram, Arjun?
Let me check.
Oh, you're actually checking?
Yeah.
So do you actually overindulge in social media?
Let him check.
I had checked Tara's account, Tara Sutaria, because she had posted something.
Tara
So,
Sutaria.
that's the
He's
last,
person he's talked on Instagram.
She's my co-star and villain. Yeah.
Nice. So, and one food that Arjun can't live without?
अरे यार food तो अर्जुन can't live out. One का क्या है, but अभी यार food का I don't know. It's reached a point where मुझे carbs से emotionally प्यार एक वो dependency हो गई थी, तो मैंने काफी कम कर दिया. But I still feel these days I've been craving having a pizza. I think that is a pretty wholesome meal, So it's not that I love pizzas, but these days it's like, is it hormonal to crave a certain kind of food? I don't know.
It is. I'm telling you, it is.
so I think I'm craving pizza for the last few days.
Okay, what good news, whether it is personal or outside, made you feel happy or healed or hopeful?
I mean, has there been a lot of good news in the last few years? I don't know.
Maybe the Olympics.
So like when you see people cheering our athletes, the good news gives me hope that now these athletes will be backed. Even 4 years from now, 3 years from now, we won't be hearing about unfortunate stories of them not having the ability to train and prepare. So I saw something really nice which Sunil Shetty posted. That today we are celebrating. The whole country celebrated the victory. But there's nobody to check on them for the 3 years that they've taken to prepare for it. So Olympics gives me hope, but it gives me hope that there will be a change with it. It makes me really happy.
Great. Thank you so much, Arjun Kapoor, for taking the time out and joining us. We're indeed really privileged ladies, three of us here, to
really
have
had a great time
to you today. We had a great time.
Thank you so
on
much.
On behalf of Nandini, Gabila, me, Chetty, and the entire India Today group, we can't thank you enough to take the time out. And what lovely, inspirational takeaways we've got from your interview today. Thank you.
Well, I'm happy to be here and talk about all that we spoke about, but I'm just feeling bad that we didn't get to sit personally and talk. So next time, hopefully, we'll be able to share a platform.
On the other side of the pandemic, let's make this promise.
Yes.
We shall.
Yes.
Thank you. Sure. That's all we have in store for you today. Catch us again tomorrow, same time, same place for another power-packed day of India Today E-mindrocks. We'd once again like to thank our presenting sponsor, Jain University, associate sponsor, Magic Moments Music Studio. Make every moment a magic moment. Insurance partner, LIC of India.